starts. We met. Just get all the normal questions out of the way.
Can you turn your mic around?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry,
Cool.
forgot.
Okay.
Sick. Let's run it.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So Dylan and I played Little League together.
Yeah.
So who are your guys like biggest creative influences, and like how do they influence you? Like, and like why do they influence you really?
When you're being creative, how do you feel like they influence your creativity?
Yeah, and like how do you be creative? Like, yeah.
No, actually, how do I be creative?
Yeah, it took me like, but there's like a noticeable difference in like the quality of like one. Yeah, I think like once I got past 100 too, because it was weird too, because like when I was starting, I was so young and I didn't quite like. I mean, like I knew what I was doing, or I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like, so I kind of was trying to like emblematically be like what I wanted to be, but I hadn't found my style yet. And it's weird. Interviewing is very much like an art form in a weird way. It's like kind of like figuring out how to navigate the conversation in a way that's both like informative but also just like natural.
Also answering questions.
Yeah.
As
Totally.
the person getting asked the questions.
I thought
it's
you were
like,
talking about doing music. Or did you do music too?
Yeah, I'm a drummer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, you still do it?
Yeah, I still play. I'm in a band in the Bay Area. We don't get to play as much anymore because I'm down here, but I love playing with those guys, and I miss them a lot. But yeah, I mean, I came from like a musical background. I kind of grew up playing in bands and shit, and then like I got into this, and then like everything kind of switched. But
sweet.
Yeah, it was fun.
This is, you should, no matter how big this podcast gets, like you should keep it in here.
Dude, thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah.
The goal is one day get a warehouse and then build this exact garage in the warehouse.
But the warehouse should also be in Northridge.
Yeah,
Like,
I love that.
I never want to come back to this and you're like in Hollywood.
Oh yeah, that would suck, dude. Or like off Melrose or something.
No, you're like just or Granada Hills. Go to Granada Hills or something.
I've got an interesting spin to put on this interview.
Hit it.
Since we're in Northridge.
Let's do it.
Reminded me of some earthquakes. An earthquake may happen while we're doing this interview.
Dude,
my anxiety just went all the way up.
Everyone's on edge.
The next big one during podcast 160.
A tsunami could also happen during this. I'm trying to think if there's anything that's actually been like.
They could.
We recorded. Oh, this was kind of cool. We recorded a podcast like 10 minutes after Trump got shot.
Nice.
That's sick.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that like happened during one of these that was like significant. One time, my roommate lost his dog during an interview.
Oh.
Yeah,
Like
so that
he got like a text or something.
Well, yeah, well, he came in. And he was like, yeah, like
That's not funny.
yeah. But the fucked up part is that the dog. So we don't. The dog doesn't live here. He like brought it from home. So, but the dog was just like, it's very small. It's like a little like not a Chihuahua, but like one of the little rat dogs.
Little rat dog.
Yeah, little rat dog. But it was just wrapped up in the curtain. So we looked for like an hour, and the dog was just wrapped up in the curtain, sitting there.
Was it an old dog? Or?
Yeah, very old dog.
It was one of those little white dogs with shit in its eyes.
That's like low key exactly what it was. It has like the weird coat of fur where it just like everything gets stuck to its fur.
Yeah, man.
It's gross.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, literally.
Rest in peace, little white dog.
Yeah.
dog.
But Lily, thank you guys for doing this. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. Exciting time in your guys' world. You're like, what, 3-4 months off the EP, and you got a crazy show with Junior Varsity coming down the pipe with the wrestling match and shit.
Yeah.
Which is like nuts to me.
Sick.
Yeah. What have been like the general emotions around just the group lately? Have you guys been feeling good? Are you excited? What's exciting you the most?
Yeah, everything's been really
Could you
good
put up
lately.
your mouth a bit more?
Yes.
Exactly like that.
You got it.
Amateur hour.
Everything's been great lately.
Yeah.
No, everything's been really good lately.
We've been trying to we've been talking about doing this wrestling show for a while now, and I think for me, I didn't actually think it was going to happen.
It was like a pipe dream.
It just seems like one of those things you talk about,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It still doesn't really feel like it's happening. And I think we don't totally know how it's going to go down.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't have too much. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm super excited for it. I mean, so much of like what we do with the shows that we throw is like try to embrace like crazy themes and shit like that. I feel like there needs to be way more of that. Especially like you would think there'd be more of that in LA because there's so many goddamn shows every single day that just repeat the same formula.
Yeah.
You would think people would try to like think outside of the box more. Was that like an idea that came from you guys or a promoter?
Well, it was talking to Ryan Baxley for a second, then it just light bulb went off about the wrestling league.
And I think what you just said really became part of the excitement with this, because I just feel like every weekend, if you're throwing a show in LA, you are fighting against 700 other things happening that night.
Yeah.
And
let alone any show that's happening at like the Palladium.
Yeah, or like anything that
artists.
like
massive
just,
ones.
just
Yeah.
people. It's
Sam,
already
can you pass
like
me
an
those pens
event.
real quick.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro. Sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, just anything that's already an event
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't need too much promotion. Like you're fighting against that too.
Yeah.
And
also just like the regular nightlife in LA.
yeah.
Yeah, just everything, you know?
And I think, for a lot of bands at our level, it's still just this grueling like hustle just to like self-promote and sell as many tickets as possible.
Yeah.
And get merch made and everything, and like but also like as fun as the show is, and I think we put on a really good show, it's like, well, what else would we want to go see that's just fun? And it takes a little bit of pressure off us and being like, come see my band play, and just for people that have seen us, because people who are fans of our band that have seen us play in LA a lot, it's like, well, how do we give them something else?
Like different.
It's not just like, oh yeah, it's like it's a Liily show, it'll be fun, let's just go, but like make it something else and make it
coming up with other incentive to come see us.
Yeah. Like, if we're not enough anymore, what else can we give you?
It's interesting hearing that from you guys because I've been a fan for a while, but the first time I saw you live was at that Shed show. Which is and Bobby's a good friend of mine, and
love Bobby.
Yeah, great fucking guy, bro. I love Bobby.
And I think that was another example of like okay, let's not like
play the echo
again and just like have to deal with, or people having to deal with like ticketing fees and just it's the Shed's just it's just a cool place to hang out, and Bobby's awesome. And like we want to do just more shit, just stuff that's fun.
That's just shit that actually sticks too.
For sure. I feel the same way, because I mean, like, I grew up going to so many shows that were just like literally the same, like a different formulation of the same 20 bands in a different 3-band order at the same 4 venues every single time. And I think that's such a hard thing in like localized scenes to get to that place where you're like, how do I make this different? I think that's what's so cool with the wrestling thing, right? It's like wrapping an experience in a musical event, which is so cool by nature.
And it's not to like shit on any bands that are
Yeah.
doing it that way, because like that's super. It's integral to any scene.
It's just people like wanting to play shows with people that they like.
Yeah.
And they.
Sam, I'm so sorry. Could you turn that mic a little bit? You're talking into that little white thing.
This guy.
Thank you, bro. So sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you sound so fucking good.
Crispy. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just people like to play with their friends too, like being friends with other bands. So it's not like knocking anything. That
No, not at all.
Like, it's just it makes sense. People play with people that they like.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, it's such a different experience too, playing with a bill that's just all your homies. Versus like not, and it's very enticing because it feels very community driven and very like organized in a cool sense, because it's like, I don't know, I think that is what community in music is. It's like
absolutely
bringing a bunch of bands together to play on the same bills, and that's exciting and cool, but the downside of that is pretty apparent when you're doing it for 3-4 years. Do you guys, because you guys are at this spot right now where like you definitely are like playing some bigger tours now, you've got to a place where you're getting some really cool opening spots and stuff, doing some headlining tours. Does that make it difficult to still manage organizing any kind of local events? Because I know there's a gigantic thing where you very much have to pay attention to how much you're playing in the same market, like back to back to back. Do you guys ever worry about how many shows you're playing in LA versus other places?
Not a worry. It's just if we do go on tour, it's nice because it makes it so that there has to be a gap of time for the next LA show.
Exactly.
And people will come to it.
Yeah, and then there's like radius clauses too.
But I think it's funny. I'm glad you bring this up, because it's like a conversation I find myself having a lot with like bands that are at our level, bands that are bigger than us, bands that are smaller than us, and there's like this overcomplication, I feel, a lot of the times with having a show in LA, and like I mean, it's almost become like a meme where you're like, why don't bands like play hometown shows enough anymore? And it's like, well, they don't want to like burn out their like hometown audience. And it's like, dude, we've been doing this for long enough now where it's just straight up not fun to be like, oh, okay, we haven't played LA in 3 or 4 months, 5 months. Like, all right, let's like, when is the Echo available? Or like, should we try and get into a bigger venue? And like, okay, how can we like, have a conversation with like booking agents about, and it's like, we just want to keep it fun and engaging for us as well as people that like our band or people that don't know about our band. And I just think if you I also think there's something so cool about the underplay stuff where it's like, yeah, look, if you don't want to stress out about like, oh, dude, well, we've played the 400 cap venue before, like, there's pressure on us to like upgrade into the 700 cap venue. Are we able to do that? It's like, dude, why don't you just go play 2 nights at the Shed? Because that's going to be so much more fun for not only you, but everybody else involved. And then like wait to get to the point where it's like, you're not stressing about like, oh yeah, well maybe we can actually sell 700 tickets or 1,000 or whatever. Like, but I just feel like it's always this conversation I'm having where it's like, oh, well, no, our booking agent told us like we can't play a show in LA for 7 months because like we need to like starve the market or whatever. And it's like, dude, well, that's fucking stupid. Like, don't play a smaller show or don't play any shows. Just have fun.
I agree, dude, and it makes you like re-question what your goals with playing live even are, right?
It fucks with your sense of like how many people give a shit, and it just takes it away from like having fun playing a show and the people there having fun and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's like, even if you guys like, for example, right, like a good 400, 500 cap room, like you guys could definitely like play lodge room and like, sell well there. But it's like somebody could go to that show and they're not gonna have the same experience as they would if they went to the Shed and they saw you guys in some dude's backyard in Porter Ranch, jumping on monitors. It's just a very different thing. And I think what's so cool about your guys' live set is it is so huge and energetic, and like Dylan is just such a performer and like incredible, just like being loud and in front of people and like making a scene. And that's so much of what like the essence of rock music is. And I think that in itself, even on that local level, right, when you guys were first starting, that sets you apart as a performer even in the early days,
because that's the one thing, like, I don't want to over talk here, but like that's the one thing.
It's happening, dude.
I know.
Keep talking.
Well, I can't stop it now. I'm just gonna talk. So,
do it,
bro. That's been the one thing with this band from the inception, which I think very quickly tried to get very overcomplicated. But the simple truth is like, we are a live band and we put on a good show. Yeah. And I think we've traversed different facets of the music industry, especially in LA, which can get really fucking weird really quickly. And you start having these conversations with people that's like, yeah, but what's the story of your band? And
what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, dude, you're like every artist needs a story.
Oh my god.
And
like, we like music.
Yeah, well, and with, like, particularly for me, like, you know, like when I was a little younger, you start feeding into that, and it completely warps your sense of what's actually happening, where I'm like, oh my god, no, we do need a story. What is the story of this band? And it's like, dude, just fucking come see a show.
Yeah.
It's almost like those like singing shows where people, like random people go on there
like
and
the
then
voice.
They like have like a sob story.
Yeah, exactly. Like, people need something to latch onto personally, and it's like, dude, just fucking come see it live.
Yeah, which is such a strange thing with the music industry now, where I feel like the live show is more undervalued than ever.
Absolutely.
And but I think it's actually exciting to be a live band right now, especially because I think where there is this, obviously this huge turn in the music industry where like everything's gone to short from content, everything's become this like kind of grab for instant gratification. Being a live band is just a hole that will always exist, and there will always be room to fill it. And I think that is like really, really exciting, and there's something that's different about it, because I think like when you move into this place in the music industry where everything is so incentivized through like commodifying art, right? The live show, for some reason, whether or not, just feels like this exploitation of just like raw, real energy in real time, and it's somehow, even if you're charging at the door, it still feels less commodified in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, I bumped into this dude that we all know a few months ago, and he's doing music. And he was talking to me about it, and just like, oh, I'm so stressed, you know, like it's just so grueling, just trying to like constantly just make TikToks every day, and like, you know, like just trying to get the numbers up. And I'm like, have you played a show yet?
Yeah.
And not to be like holier than thou or anything, it was just this really weird conversation that I've never really had, where he's like, oh yeah, no, I'm really thinking about doing a show, but like I don't think I should do that until like I get like this amount of followers or whatever, this many monthly listeners. And I'm not knocking anybody that like takes that approach and it ends up working out. I just don't know how well that actually works out long term.
It just sounds like a tough way to live.
It does, and like, dude, you
play music.
Yeah, well, because I'm also just like, to me, it's not. It doesn't. The other alternative seems way more fun and not actually that hard. Where it's like 30 people.
Yeah.
30 people. Like you have a friend or you have a living room.
Mm-hmm.
Like. Or, you know what I mean? Like, what we used to do, it's like, dude, it costs $30 to rent a generator.
Yeah.
For an hour, for the evening. It's like, just get 30 people, and if you're good and you put on a good show, like, people are going to like it, and they'll come back to the next one. Like, I just don't know, like... And I feel like I sound a little bit like a boomer when I'm saying that, but it just was such a weird... Like, I've never had that conversation before.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's also so strange, dude, because, like, the idea of waiting until you hit a certain threshold of monthly listeners to throw a show is like automatically inflating it, because that's not even who's going to come to your show. Like, dude, this was crazy. I remember coming out of the TikTok era in 2020 during the pandemic when no one was playing shows. There were acts that had 5 million monthly listeners playing their first show.
Yeah, and 30 people showed up.
Yeah, because they don't have fans.
Yeah.
They have listeners, and that's a huge distinction.
Yeah.
I think that's something that, like, playing live, in my opinion, is one of the best ways to curate like a fan base opposed to a listener base. It's incredibly different.
Absolutely.
Especially if you have your live show really hammered down to this place where like every single night you're putting on something different and engaging, and it's not just the same as being a listener, because somebody can add you to their playlist and be a vacant follower, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything if they're not showing up or like, supporting any way, and that's just the truth of it,
So you're just like in the beginning, like you find out what kind of artist you are when you play shows.
For sure.
Like,
yeah.
That's
a really
you,
good point.
When you really know what you're doing, and like you decide on your vibe.
Yeah.
That's
like, you're like looking at videos of your early shows, like, oh, I'm never doing that again. Or,
yeah.
Shit like that.
So talking about that a little bit more, when you guys first started playing LA and playing local shows and stuff, how long do you think it took for you to really find, like, not just your stage presence, but like what you wanted a Liily show to be? Like, were there any pivotal moments in the beginning where you were like, oh, like that show happened, this went right, this is what we have to keep moving forward? Any big lessons?
That's a really interesting question,
because
I kind of think last year or the year before that, because I feel like we had been searching a lot, and there were different members that were coming in and out, and the way we would write music is different. I feel like with recent events in the last year, like big changes that we've made around us, I feel like that's probably the first time that we all mostly understand what we're doing and like what we want to do, and like understanding our strengths and our weaknesses. But I would say last year, because we just made a lot of big changes to the environment around us.
And I think from the get-go, because Sam, I really like that point you brought up about you find out a lot about, you understand a lot about what kind of band you are and what kind of artist you are individually by playing live. I'm not saying maybe that's not the only way, but like that's a definite, like,
it's a big reveal.
It's a big reveal. And I think for a band like us, first starting out, you get this immediate transference, because there's something really awesome about like writing songs for a set list and not for an album.
Totally.
Because you get like this real immediate feedback from people when you play a song for a first time live, and you're like, just this song actually needs a lot of work, or this song isn't actually really good, or this song is way cooler than we thought it was, just because of the literal reaction you get from it live.
Okay, so that's what you're looking for. It's energy in the crowd. It's how they're reacting. It's what their feedback is.
And also, like, because we play a lot just together. We we work on songs a lot just with nobody around, like every band does. But when you're writing it for a record or for it to be consumed via, just an MP3, there's something you're listening to it as a song in a very different way, where like you play it live and you realize like, oh, even just in like a small way, where like that transition actually doesn't really work, because just something different happens when you're playing it live.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as heavy as you thought it was actually, or we've been recording it the wrong way, because this part actually live is so fucking heavy.
I think the biggest thing you can feel is length.
Yeah.
Totally.
Because
Yeah.
like, there's been so many times where we've played like a half finished song live to see what parts are good, and you get to like the chorus or the bridge, and you're just like, yo, I want to get off this. I want
It's
to
been
move
going a
on.
minute.
Yeah, like, and you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
tell that the crowd knows it too. Maybe
Yeah.
we're obviously way more aware of it because we know how the song goes, but
Yeah.
dude, that's the most uncomfortable. Like, you just keep playing
Yeah,
the same thing. You're like,
seriously.
oh my god, go to the next section.
Dude, no, you're like, why the fuck did we write a third verse?
Yeah, yo, why is
Like,
this song 4 minutes and 30
Yeah,
seconds?
and that's I
need to
think,
be.
and you know what's funny though, dude, because we do start like writing. You start making those types. At least I do. You start making those types of creative decisions on songs when I haven't played a show in a long time.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, actually, no, it'd be fucking cool if this song was 7 minutes. You know, and then you like try it live, and you're
Like,
like,
oh, wait.
what the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's also like I think the two exist in tandem in like this perfect harmony, right?
Absolutely,
Because it's like,
yeah.
are you writing for the studio or are you writing for live? And I don't think
Yeah.
the answer is either. I think it should always be
Yeah.
for both.
Yeah.
And I mean that's a very difficult thing to do, right? It's like have a song that comes across on the record as energetic and as big as it does in live time.
Yeah.
But I think the two inform each other in this very special way.
Well, I
Absolutely.
think that's what we've tried. I think we've tried to do from the beginning.
Yeah.
Which is like capturing the live sound, not necessarily making it sound like a live record, but capturing when you come to a show, which is something we still haven't reached fully.
Yeah.
But I think what we're doing now, post the EP and all the lessons we've kind of learned, we're figuring out ways. Like, for example, when we're making songs, we have more access to, you know, we're on, like Ableton, and we're like tweaking out on like audio effects and plugins and shit, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then you go to the live show and you're like, we can't play that part.
How do I
'Cause,
recreate
like,
that? Yeah.
we can't play
Yeah,
that
yeah,
part.
yeah.
But so what we're doing now, which is all fun, but for a band like us, I feel like, you know, we've realized that what we're doing now is from the start of even before we even make songs,
Yeah.
the bass sounds like this certain tone, and that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
The guitar sounds like this, it's going through this amp.
Yeah.
The drums sound like this. And when you add stuff to it, it's under, not like, whoa, let's not add that because we can't play it live. It's like, okay, let's add it, but how can I also do that live
Yeah.
in a way where it feels like a cohesive thing versus
Yeah.
like when you do play it live, it's like, which sometimes is cool when like a song on a record is like super electronic and they play it live and you're like, oh, that's like punk, which is cool.
I mean, we were talking about them before. I think a really good example of this is Ultra Q.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
totally.
Like what's it? It's Permanent is a good example of this. Where
Yeah.
like the drum beat
totally.
is super like electronic, and then
Yeah.
like when Chris plays it live, he just plays it
Yeah.
acoustically, and it sounds
And Chris
crazy.
is also just a
Chris is
fucking
insane.
crack.
We
Yeah.
also met those guys on a tour, so we were used to hearing their live show.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then when you then go listen to their record, you're like, oh, this
Yeah.
is completely. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
couldn't have imagined this was gonna sound like this.
And
Which
it's
is
so
totally
seamless.
rad.
Yeah,
And,
right?
Like, they
They're
do it
sick.
so
They
well.
Yeah,
do
they're
both.
like weirdly good at that.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I think what I've been learning is there's a lot of moments in like our live set where Sam does like some fucking crazy thing, and that's like part of the recording, but he's, you know, he obviously has to like pick one or the other.
Yeah.
And I just have this thought, which is kind of what Max is talking about, where I'm like, dude, why didn't you just play that part? You know what I mean?
Like-
like where it might be like a weird sound effect that we added later, and you
because
just
we play so many shows.
Yes.
And then you like add in little fills and like
Yes,
little gaps
exactly.
and stuff, and then just like,
and
oh,
you
I
end
wish
up
that was
like
on the
playing.
record.
Yeah, exactly. You end up playing
Yeah.
that weird sound effect
Yeah.
live, like
full
like
circle.
giving up on a
Yeah.
different part.
I was thinking about that recently because I was thinking that's gonna happen a lot on these next songs that we're working on, because I'm not using my pedal board as much like with what we're doing right now, and it's just going straight into
Yeah.
the amp. So then when we play shows and I am able to like do the Wendy
Yeah.
stuff or any of that, it's gonna
Well,
be
even
like,
full
oh, shit.
circle, like playing stuff live. I feel like
yeah.
this new process we have, where we're starting at the foundation of it being something that's like, when someone plays a bass or a guitar or drums, like,
Yeah.
oh, this is what it's gonna sound like,
Yeah.
and then subsequently playing it live.
Yeah.
Now it's like, now he's got the pedal board.
Uh-huh.
He was,
it just opens up
Yeah.
this can of worms. And you're just like can figure out how to, because sometimes those new ideas need help too.
Yeah.
Because you're like, this is like almost getting people moving, but it's not really
Yeah.
getting people moving. And then just over time, you just start changing little tiny things, and it just makes it a little bit cooler.
And you might not even realize you're doing it.
Yeah,
like it's just like very slow process.
And a lot of times when you look at it in retrospect, you're like, oh no shit.
Yeah.
I should have done that to begin with.
I think you bring up a really good point too that like you were kind of touching on earlier, which I think is also crucial to like kind of how this band writes songs. And I heard Darren from System say this in an interview at one point, and I just think it's so true. We're like, where we're at right now, kind of the goal of every song is like, how much can this song like make people in this small club just move?
Yeah.
Right? Like you're kind of not afforded the luxury of like distance from the crowd physically. So like there's like this element of like, oh, we can like quiet down and like write more of a song that you just listen to. Where not like we all want to do that obviously, but like I think there's just something to be said about like we're playing to 250 people right now, like we have to play stuff that makes them move.
Like,
that's
for sure.
That's like the holy grail right now.
But I think also that being said, like there is I think a lot, like a ton of power in like the like logical opposite of that, where where it's like the moments that are making you move and you the moments where you can't help but dance, those moments are so much more impactful when there's a slow song that you're really feeling lyrically right before it. I interviewed my friend Maddie Davis one time, and she described this to me in a way that's really stuck with me. And she told me she writes out her set list before every single show, and she rates all the songs on a scale of 1 to 10 based on energy. So like a 1 is a song that you're feeling very emotionally,
right?
And like maybe it's a very lyrical song, it's a very story driven song. And then a 10 is a song, maybe it's more up tempo, it's just a bigger sound. But her goal was always to put the 10s next to the 1s, and then go 10 to 1, 10 to 1, 10 to 1, 10 to 1.
Well, it's so funny you say that because we had a whole conversation about this. Like, I think what Charlie's saying is correct, where it's like we're not at the point where we're like, we play shows and people come, we have fans and stuff, but for the most part we're trying to convince people to listen to us and like come to more shows,
winning them over.
And so in our eyes it's been exactly what he's saying, where it's like the like craziest, like 30, like the shorter the better, just 30 minutes of just like insane crazy shit, and then you just leave, and then people are like, the fuck just happened? That shit's cool. I think playing even more shows, I think we've kind of wanted more of like the actual 0 to 10, and we've been missing. We haven't really been writing songs that are like 1. It's either 10 or it's like kind of like a mid 5.
Gotcha.
When I feel like
like
but
Boom Boom on the new record would be like a 10.
Yeah, that would be a 10. But like, what would be rad is if the concept of what we're doing now is kind of like writing like that. So like, if the first song on the next record, which would also be the song we'd open up with, is like a beautiful just guitar, vocals, bass, and then you just go into something like Boom Boom, people are like, whoa.
What just happened?
And there's actually like like what you're saying, you actually feel like it's not like this the whole time, which can be cool.
Totally.
But I also think having those huge peaks and valleys and nothing in the middle is also like,
it's huge.
It's also easier for people to like retain that all of it. Like, because if you have a set that's like you're saying like 7 songs of Boom Boom, then they kind of like
and people get tired
and, like,
too.
the whole show is one song.
I've been to a lot of hardcore shows that feel like that.
For
sure. Which is something I think is difficult
because you feel like you're about to like start tripping
blow your head off. Yeah, no,
like
for sure.
Dynamics.
Yeah, exactly.
Which can
hard.
be cool. Like, there's always a time and a place to do that, and I think one of the things we can do really well is that, and we know we can do that if the environment or the show, requires it.
Yeah.
But I think on like more grander long-term scale, I feel like that thing can be the thing, because Dylan also has like a really amazing voice. Besides the screaming, which is also sick, and I think he kind of gets to show it, but I think if it was like show it or don't, show it or scream, we've kind of thought
Yeah, I
it
mean,
might be the next move.
I mean,
forward.
as a fan, I think that sounds incredible. I'm gonna do the LA thing. I saw McGee a couple weeks ago, and
how was it?
Incredible. And I
yeah.
think like what you just said is exactly how his set
cool.
felt. It
Yeah.
was like
Right.
the biggest moments like imaginable, and then contrasted with like these incredibly small melodramatic moments where it's just him and the guitar.
Right.
And
His
it's
songs
just-
are like that
for
too. I
sure.
mean, it's like reeds.
Yeah.
He's a vibe.
Yeah,
that
dude. I
guy.
mean, and like all the screaming parts too, and
Yeah.
we'll go from that to like I mean, even the songs themselves, like the contrast between some of like the verses and the choruses.
Mhm.
Some of the hooks are just so huge,
Yeah.
and they drop down to these incredibly small moments, and that's what it feels like. It's like you're at this
Right.
peak, and then you go right back down.
Yeah.
Kind of talking about that whole thing in context with the recording process, and you touched on something where you were saying like, you guys try to make everything feel live. How is that played into the recording process of both the EP and the new material? Are you guys a band that does a lot of dubbing, or are you guys more so like, we're going to record a take until we get it?
The EP we just did,
Mm-hmm.
because of, a lot of factors surrounding us. Like we had a lot of those songs done, not a lot of them, but a few of them done like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so they had been kind of building on each other. So we had a lot of time to do it. So we kept adding and taking
Gotcha.
away and replacing. And then, our friends Austin and Wyatt, who produced it with us.
Oh, I didn't know Austin, he does the Gene Dawson stuff,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love his work.
Yeah, they're
they're fucking
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah.
They came in when the songs were at like 60, 70%, some of them more than others.
Uh-huh.
And they kind of brought it to the finish line. And I
Nice.
think in that sense, that recording process of the EP wasn't very thought. It just kind of over time was like, we have this song and it's coming out,
Uh-huh.
whatever. But I think usually now, it'll start with like a bass idea or like a guitar idea or
Yeah.
like a beat sometimes. And then the three of us and Dylan, we start to kind of play it live and try to jam it out. Because before, what we used to do on like the first record, TV or Not TV, it was just all jam.
Yeah.
And then we would just jam it until we recorded it live.
Gotcha.
Which yields a certain kind of song.
Yeah.
But I think we wanted more control over it and to make it feel less like it. Not that the song is 7 minutes, but makes it feel like it's 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So what we do is we usually jam it out to start and kind of get like a rough structure and like figure out the chord changes or the notes or whatever and the structure loosely, and then we record it in the computer with live instruments.
Gotcha.
So it's like we have the essence of the song, and then we start to tweak on the computer, and then we'll move stuff around, and then naturally it'll go back to live. We'll jam in it again, play it at some shows, and then it informs the computer version even more. Maybe we retrack a bunch of stuff. Maybe it's like, fuck, the second verse is terrible or something.
Yeah.
And then it just starts to build on the computer. And we haven't really gotten to the point, because we've either done all live and overdubbing or
Yeah.
like computer.
Gotcha.
And now we're trying to thread the needle where it's like everything will live on the computer. I would assume that maybe if it needs it, we'd go to like a studio and like track drums or something. But there is something about not necessarily the live aspect of it, but like
it being
the
just you
tone.
guys.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I think the more unique sounding it is, and like the kind of amp Sam is using, and like we're recording it in like a dead space.
Yeah.
It sounds a certain way
For sure.
that I think will give it the energy that it needs, not necessarily the live sound. Because I think the one thing we hate more than anything is like a record that's like, this is a live record. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of takes away, like, there's so many things and so many options and so many tools you have available now to make shit cooler. And it's just about capturing the energy more so than
Yeah,
like, the live
I think
sound.
I think that's something that, because I have that conversation a lot all the time, and it gets really confusing because for a band like us, you want to capture what is happening live.
Yeah.
But that gets really easily conflated with, oh, then just record it and make it sound like it's the live show. And you're like, in theory, yes, but that hasn't really worked for us.
Yeah.
And to what Max is saying, you have so many options to just attempt to get what it sounds like live without it having to be literally live.
I think that gets super interesting too in the mixing and mastering process too, because I think that plays a gigantic role in like how live a record sounds. And I think like the goal, like what you were saying, right? The goal I think should never be to get your stuff to sound as squeaky clean and polished as say like an Imagine Dragons record or something like that, right? Where it's just like so clean and like everything is like perfectly
Fuck
mixed.
those
That's
dudes.
like there's just like no dirt on it. And I think sometimes something so valuable is like backtracking and being like, okay, this sounds incredibly clean, perfectly mixed. How can we dirty it up? Like how can we make it a bit more unpolished and get that live feel, you know?
Even McGee, I mean, nobody knows. There's a whole disagreement or conflict on how he gets his guitar tone. But that's what makes him, and that's basically like a lot of his sound is that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I assume, I've never seen him live, but I assume when you see him live, it's like it's that.
It's very much that. Yeah, for sure.
Which is kind,
Yeah, and I backtrack to what you were saying too. There's like this level of like, I mean, I don't know how McGee records his songs, but like it does all sound like it exists in the same environment in a very special way. And I think that's really important where you were talking about like the room, like the energy in the room and the environment you're in. That's huge, bro. Like there is such a untangible thing that you can capture in a specific room or like a specific space or like who you're with or who you're not with. There's so like many like almost like invisible aspects that go into a record that you can hear, but it's almost subconscious as a listener, you know? Yeah.
And like what your mindset is, because I was getting really lost for a second because there was just like a lot of outside influences surrounding this band for a little while that was it really took any sense of like focus or direction or clarity away from me, and I just found myself like clinging on to dear life, like in Max's room, just like trying to come up with like a bass loop and like just not even knowing what the fuck I even liked anymore.
Like trying to figure out how to sound like Liily.
Yeah, literally. And it took us really like taking control back of like what this band is and how we operate as friends and how we communicate with one another, and like that's like and that stuff is just like a lifelong process. But like I've gotten to this point again now where it's like I'm just so excited to just play bass, and that was just, I felt like that was really taken away from me for a while, and I was just at the mercy of fuck bass, like or not, just like looking at things on such a macro level and being so uninterested and uninspired by like anything detail oriented, because none of that shit fucking matters as long as you have a fucking song. We just need a song, like guys, we just need a song. And like, at least for me, just relearning, like there's so much excitement I get out of the details of things, of just bass, of just like figuring out what is exciting about whatever I'm playing while I'm watching TV, or like while I'm just doing nothing, or while I'm hanging out with them, like and I'm just like, I'm so, without sounding too cheesy, like I'm just so fucking grateful for that, to have that back.
I mean, dude, it's so weird to unwork those things that just happen over time, you know? It's like, because there's so many aspects to it. There's like, obviously your guys' relationship, there's like the industry side of everything, there's like so much of it that gets you away from just point blank playing your instrument.
And it sounds stupid, but it's true, just it's the only thing that matters. And it's like, and I knew this was the case, and it would stress me out even further of like how I felt about like my creativity and how I felt about approaching music and enjoying playing it was so similar to how I feel when I can't fall asleep. And it's that feeling of when you can't fall asleep.
Oh, that's a crazy analogy.
And you need to get up early in the morning. You think you need to get up super early in the morning and be super productive that next day, and it's just stressing you out, and you're tweaking, and the harder you try to fall asleep, you can't. And you know, also at the back of your head, the only way you are going to fall asleep is if you stop caring and just kind of relinquish a little bit of control, and then you fall asleep within 30 seconds.
100%.
And it's being aware of those two things at the same time, you know, being like, I'm not going to come up with anything that I'm excited about if I have this death grip over how I'm approaching this and what I think I need out of this and where I think we need to be, or all this shit. And as soon as I just find the ability to chill out a little bit, it's like all of a sudden I'm just having the best time again and writing stuff that I love, and I'm so excited. I just can't wait to hang out with you guys, and like, you know what I mean?
You know, I always say is like, especially where we make music and stuff, it's like a cool backyard and there's a pool.
Cool.
And it's like, just go take a dip.
Yeah,
Just get in the
dude.
pool, man. Like, it's not that deep. It's really not. Like, there's a lot of stuff in life that's stressful, of course, and anxiety and whatever. But at the end of the day, I think just if you're more aware of your surroundings and what's going on, and like the fact that the three of us just get to hang out and just bare minimum, that's already cool.
Yeah.
Where I'm already living I feel fulfilled already.
Yeah.
And on top of that, maybe we make some music. Maybe it's sick. Maybe it sucks. Whatever. But
we're doing.
And if I'm stressed, I go outside, take a walk. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
yeah.
I feel like,
and it's so hard to backtrack into that too. I think because it's like, I mean, because it's like you guys all, if I'm right, you guys started playing together like incredibly young, right?
Yeah.
Like 15.
So that's crazy. That like you can just start and it just feels like this idea, and it's just like us. We're in the backyard or whatever, and we're jamming, we're having fun.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because I don't think humans are like adapt to like accurately point out the point at which it stopped being that and started being like a career and like a business. And it's this weird thing because like art, I don't even know if it's meant to be commodified. It's so strange, and that's coming from somebody who makes their living off art. Like it's weird. Like I don't even know if like artistic expression is something that was meant to like be thought of as a business venture.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, there's an aspect of it that becomes just a reality if you want to do this for the rest of your life. So it's like, how do you manage to like consider that, think about that, and like, you know, play the ups and the downs of that, but then simultaneously just worry about like what you were saying, just playing bass, playing your music.
Because I mean, it's such a tightrope walk too. Because I also like, it's a really slippery slope when you get down into the conversation of like art versus commerce.
Yeah.
You know, and like
that sign right there. That's the production company I work for. One of their mottos is art, not algorithms.
Yeah, and it's just a slippery slope, because a conversation that I think really annoys me, because it never feels genuine and it feels like super self-serving.
Yeah,
is when I start talking with people who are like I just make art for me, like I don't care what the fuck happens with it. And it's like, yeah, but dude, like at the same time, I know you don't want to be working the job you're working right now, so it's like that's not true. And I'm not saying like there's an extreme in both ways, like, because I also don't think like it's healthy or serves anybody to just go in the opposite direction and be like, I'm just trying to make shit that I want people to like.
Take a tightrope.
But yeah, there has to be a balance, because it's like, we don't want to have day jobs. Yeah. But at the same time, like, we want to have fun and make music that's exciting to us, but we want people to like it.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, I think you have to be honest with yourself about that at a certain point. Because, like, it just gets so fucking like, oh, okay, cool. Then, like, go have another career and you can make your weird music in your garage for the rest of your life. And that's cool. Like, if that's honestly what you want to do, that's awesome. Go do that. But it's like everybody wants to be Tom York.
Yeah, dude.
You know, and it's like, that's possible, but I don't know. I don't know a lot of people that are like Tom York.
Yeah, me neither. He's kind of one-on-one.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, it's like this constant battle, this constant tightrope walk. I had this friend in the Bay Area, and he's a guy who's like been in like, and this I guess is indicative of a bigger conversation, but I have a friend in the Bay Area who's like this guy who's just been like in DIY music for like, since I was a kid. Like one of the first bands I ever saw. Like, I went to high school with this guy, and he's like 2 or 3 years older than me, but like just has been at this shit since I was literally a kid. Yeah. And he's done this shit his entire life, and he plays shows like literally weekly every 2 weeks to this day. And he hasn't found like, you know, a ton of like whatever you deem to be like commercial success or whatever. Yeah. But he's just this guy who just like, he just fucking loves this. Like, I've never met anybody like this guy. He just loves this, and he's one of the only people I've ever met where I'm like, he says, I don't really care if this blows up, and I believe him. Because I think a lot of people lie about it.
That's the thing, where it's like, if that's the truth, whatever the truth is, that's, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But you get that a lot in LA, where you know you're not hearing the truth.
Yeah.
Also too, like, what makes Tom York is that he's Tom York, not that.
True.
You brought that up. Like, if you want to do that, you should be you.
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing that we've discovered is like the only way you become, you know, what you want to do in life and how you want to be fulfilled. Like,
I mean, that becomes
you just got to be yourself and do what you think you should do, not what someone else did or whatever. You can take cues from other people and information and wisdom, but I think at the end of the day, what makes anyone who's awesome is because they're actually them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that gets especially interesting in like your guys' genre too, because there is such a like, I mean, I guess not just your genre, honestly, any band-driven genre, any genre of rock, there is like this ethos of like when you start as just like a young band in a local scene, there is like this like DIY ethos where it's like you have this kind of pressure to like, I need to fit into this culture and do it all myself and never achieve commercial success. And anybody who does is like weird. I always refer back to how like Gilman in this venue in the Bay Area banned Green Day when they signed to a major label. Yeah, which is such like which is like such an interesting point where it's like, okay, then what's the fucking goal? Like, are we not trying to do this, or are we trying to do this, right? And it's been so weird to me my entire life. Somebody who's come up in like some kind of like DIY driven music scenes, to see people who like look at success as if it's like a bad thing, or look at success as if you shouldn't be chasing it.
It's funny. I mean, I've only been alive since '98, but I feel like the people from the '90s that we've known or who are older than us and just growing up, it's like selling out, for example, was such like a like don't sell out, all that shit. And now it kind of feels like more people are like, it's not cool, or it's cooler if you sell out than selling out.
I think the phrase lost some of its meaning. Because it's like, what do you mean sell out? What do you mean like feed myself?
Like, I mean, it's like it's hard out here, dude. Like,
I have $100 more than my rent every month. Am I selling out?
I mean, you're just like, dude, like we're waiting for Taco Bell to like want to put our song in a commercial. You know, like it's just like
be sick.
It'd be it'd be amazing.
Taco Bell if you're watching.
Yeah, I want to go to Hawaii, dude.
The best dream is, making shit that you like and being breaded up. I mean, I don't know what else. If that's what you want to do.
There's a friend of mine, Estelle. She described this in a really cool way. We were talking about this when I interviewed her, and she said she's always just chasing that feeling of being in the studio and just seeing a lightning bolt that nobody else sees, and like that's what it is for her. Like that's what she chases. It's like that constant journey of just trying to find that thing that makes you like want to keep doing this and want to wake up every single day and doing that thing that you can't go to bed without thinking about.
For me, that's a big struggle. I go through like a month of like, why am I doing this? I know why I'm doing this, a bit dramatic, but like I'm not creative. I'm creative, but I don't have the inspiration, and I feel like I'm just slogging it. And then you get like a hit 1 month, and then you're just cooking for like a week or 2 or 3 or a month. Sometimes it lasts a long time,
and then it goes away.
And then it goes away, and then what your friend said, it's, to me personally, that's a really big thing, because it is like a drug in that way, where every time you're like you're in the flow state or whatever, and you're cooking, and like you forget that 18 hours went by, and you're just like, wow. Like that shit is like, oh, that's why I do it. And usually if you're doing that and you're clocking into that zone, you usually do end up seeing results and success from that, because people can feel that, especially. So I definitely agree with, I think we speak for all of us as a band, as a collective group. I think it's either like, we rev into something, we rev into it, and then all of a sudden it's just like pop, 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 and then it's like, but when we're on the climb, it's great. And I think that's natural.
And I think that's why it's so important as a musician to have a life outside of music, because like it's one of those careers, bro, where it's like you're very much right. Like this is a weird analogy, but I'm like a big baseball fan, and I watch
too.
Who's your team?
Dodgers.
Congratulations.
Dude.
Congratulations.
Not yet. But
congratulations.
Thank you.
We're manifesting it.
Yeah, all right, cool. I like that.
Are you Dodgers?
No, I'm an A's fan, unfortunately.
Ooh, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. But
are they going to Sacramento next year?
Yes.
And then is Vegas happening?
Supposedly. If they build the fucking stadium, there's no shovels in the ground yet. Fuck John Fisher.
Yo,
fuck John Fisher.
It's the Oakland Athletics, dude. The Vegas Athletics? Are you fucking kidding me?
Makes me want to throw up.
Who should I say fuck you to right now?
John Fisher.
Fuck you, John Fisher.
Fuck you, John Fisher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that guy.
Fucking crazy.
Billionaire scum, bro. Yeah, dude. Season ticket holder 4 years in a row when I was a kid. Went to all their playoffs games, like die hard. So it's like it's like breaking up with a long-term girlfriend. It's tough. But
I want to say one thing. I know Dave Roberts gets a lot of shit, and I have arguments about this all the time, but like, I support what Dave Roberts is doing, and I fuck with Dave Roberts.
Dude, as an A's fan, watching a team that wants to compete every single year, and if they don't compete, it makes them sick. I'm so jealous of that, dude. Yeah, like that is. I don't understand how people don't.
And
like Dave
also, look,
Roberts.
here's what I'm saying too, right? Like, when the Dodgers win.
Yep.
The 2024 World Series.
And Shohei goes 4 for 4 every single game.
And he goes 4 for 4 every single game.
Yeah.
Then I'm saying Dave Roberts now has 2 World Series titles under his belt. So it's just like, shut the fuck up.
And one he got cheated out of.
Yep. And when he got... Oh, yeah. We're talking Houston Asterisks?
Oh, yeah. We're talking Houston Asterisks.
Fuck the Asterisks.
Fuck the Astros, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but baseball. The analogy I was going for. I watched a baseball podcast, and they interviewed a pitcher. And I watched this a couple weeks ago, but it was longer than that. But it really resonated with me, and it made me think about music. And they were interviewing this pitcher, and he was talking about how, like, playing in front of that many people every single night is like you're on the highest of highs, but when you're not pitching, like, you're on the lowest of lows. And I think there's very much some truth to that with music, where it's like...
I think about that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, I just can't even imagine the stress of, like, I mean, dude, like, look at, like, Cody Bellinger.
Yeah.
You know, like...
good to so bad to so good again.
Yeah, like, I just can't imagine, like, having, like, all that... well, I mean, I can in a sense, but not at that fucking level.
World
but,
Series
like,
MVP.
Yeah, having all that momentum behind you and then just, like, losing all of it and then just, like, looking down the barrel of, like, going back down to the minors and, like... dude, we've all felt like, I think anybody in a band has felt a small micro version of that, where it's like, you know, you're up one day and dude, the next day you just don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
you know, like,
it's so fickle.
Yeah, and it's such a fight to just, like, because also there's so many aspects of being in a band that really warp your sense of how people view you.
Yeah,
like, you know, we have people come up to us at shows that just, like, you know, they're just under the impression that, like, we've made it and we're all rich, and then, like,
just gonna say that, yeah,
you know, and it's just like that couldn't be farther from the truth. But then you also look at, like, the other side of it when, you know, there are people that are doing way better than us, and it's just this kind of, I mean, this how to stay
in the middle,
and, like, constantly worrying about, like, do I have my head in the clouds, like, am I capable of this? Like, am I completely blowing out of proportion, like, everything that we've done, or am I not appreciative enough of everything that we've been able to do? And that gets really scary.
Yeah, dude.
And especially, you know, when we had, like, a year like last year where we really weren't doing much, and we were just so gridlocked in terms of putting out music and just really feeling like we had nobody in our corner. You know, it gets really dark really quickly, and you're just like, fuck, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Like, and for me personally, dude, just, like, it was just the worst. And then, and then, like, what Max is saying, though, like, and what Sam is saying too, about just, like, A, finding that sense of creativity and inspiration again, and then B, like, re-understanding who you are and what is so great about what you do via playing a show. It just, like that Shed show we played was so important to me. Because I don't know, it was just like a nice pat on the back of like, oh, okay, no, like,
this is real,
and I love doing this with my best friends, and it means something to me, and it means something to other people, and, like, okay, cool, like, let's run with this feeling. And I feel like full circle, like, that is also what's so important about this wrestling show to me, where it's like, I want to keep chasing that feeling of, like, this is fun, this is awesome, this means something to me.
Yeah, and I think
important.
I think that's where your head's got to remain. Yeah, it's got to remain in this constant chase of things that excite you, not things that excite your peers, not things that you think people will look at you for in a cool way. It's things that make you want to wake up in the morning and do this. Like that, I feel like is what you need to chase in any way, shape, or form that you can. And like you said, like I don't know if humans are like meant to like properly understand like what it feels like to do what any musician who's found any kind of success is doing. I mean, think about it, bro. Like if you're even a band that can fill like a 300, 400, 500 cap room, you're playing in front of 400 people elevated on a stage and they're all watching you. So it makes perfect sense where in their mind they're like, oh, like these are the guys. They did it. But it's such a weird like discrepancy because like you said, like you guys can not even be like, you could be struggling. You know, it could be tough to pay your rent some months. You never, you know, it's always so fickle. It could all be gone in an instant, and it's like this weird perspective.
Oh, dude. Well, and I think one other thing I've been thinking about a lot lately about and I think because we came up in playing shows where there was 7 bands playing in one backyard.
Yeah.
And like certain, you know what I mean? Like people leave, you know, you don't want to be the headliner of a 7-band bill in somebody's backyard. So I think that ingrained this little bug in my head where like even, you know, last month we had this show at the Roxy and it was an amazing show, but you know, our friends in Love Letter were opening up. They opened the show.
They're so sick.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
They opened up the show and I'm like watching from upstairs at like all the people and there's just still that voice in my head that's like, I bet they're going to leave after Love Letter's done playing. Like, there's no way they're, like, here for us. Yeah. And then, like, after Reckling, who played after them, I'm like, they're going to leave. Yeah. And then, you know, you look at it, you're like, oh, fuck, no, okay, all right. Yeah, they are here. They are here for us, at least some of them.
I just envision what you're saying so hard because of the way the green room in the Roxy is. It has that little window.
Yes, literally, dude. You're just
window.
like...
Yeah. You're like, oh, wait, yeah.
Where's that guy going? Is he leaving? Is he just going to smoke? Is he coming back? Dude, come back.
Yeah.
No, we haven't gone on yet. Don't go.
Yeah. It's like a survival mindset.
Yeah. No, it is.
So weird because you're right. Like, it's like you guys, I mean, I think it's true for any band who started the way that you guys started, but it's like you scratch and claw to find any bit of that.
Yeah.
That, like, you're just prepared for it to leave at any moment. And it's so scary, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard thing to grapple with. One thing you were saying about the live recording process, that was really cool. When we mentioned like bands like Ultra Q that are so good at like toting this line between like a more electronically recorded thing, but then making the live part so interesting. I love so much as a drummer your use of jam blocks and stuff, and like how that's such a big part of your style. And it's so cool to me how like that is so present on the records and the live performance. So I thought that was really sick, and that's something I think is so cool as a drummer because it's just taking an element that isn't like super present, especially from other cultures of music, and like reinterpreting it in this own way. Thanks, was that something? Of course, yeah. Is that something that's always been part of your style, or did you find it in a certain point in your drumming career? Like, did you get to a place where you're like, oh, like I want this to be a big part, or did it always just feel right?
I've never even asked you this question.
Oh hell yeah!
Fuck yeah!
Thanks, man.
Must have started with that wash beat.
Well, what's funny is I feel like it's really been a case of like opportunity in terms of like the wood blocks and cowbell. Now the cowbell because I pretty much dented the other one, but the wood block is his wood block, and like he had gotten it for himself, and then it kind of found its way on my drum set, also along with like his snare that I still use and stuff. But like it's really just out of like I'm bored, like let's just put something here, and then like something comes out of it. And I think the more I play drums, because I definitely like playing drums as like a thing I obviously get out of it, but I like the kind of the whole piecing everything together and like what the drums influence the rest of it,
like percussion as an idea.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I just get really bored of doing the natural drum setup. And like I think watching drummers like Ruben from Model Actress and like Brian Chippendale from Lightning Bolt and Greg Saunier, I don't know how to say it, from Deerhoof. Those guys like play, they have their own unique setup, and they always are changing it, especially Greg. He's like, one day he's playing with just a kick snare and a hat and like 2 crashes together, and then the next day he doesn't have a crash and it's just a hat and it might be a tom. Like, and even like Ruben from Model Actress, he like doesn't have rack tom. And I think that's cool. I like less is more
I totally agree
type stuff. But I think as I've been getting older, like to answer your question, like the more I play drums, the more I get bored with the normal setup. So I'm trying to introduce things to not only push myself to play different things, but think about the drums a little differently. But like the wood blocks was one of those things that like kind of got me out of like, let's just rock beat, dance beat. But it is still a dance beat. It's just slightly influenced. But now what I want to do is, I'm not doing it yet because we're just writing songs, but for like live shows, I have like a modular drum machine.
Cool.
And I've been doing this thing that this guy taught me how to do where I trigger like on a contact mic, I like put it on the snare and the kick, and every time I hit the snare it triggers a modular snare and a modular kick. So there's even going back to what I was saying earlier.
Awesome.
It sounds dope. And you could also, you know, there's like 4 inputs for like other shit. You can make crazy noises and shit just by the hit of a snare.
Yeah.
But even wrapping around what I said earlier is kind of like making music versus the live show versus recorded show. Like those kinds of things you can still do live. It's just figuring those out. So to answer your question, I just get bored. Yeah. And then I just start trying stuff out.
Yeah. Not to compare myself to you as a drummer at all, because I will never be the drummer you are. It is a hobby for me. But
you're good.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. But like, just speaking from my own experience playing, I remember when I like grew up teaching myself to play drums. I like never understood. I was like, why would somebody not want 2 rack toms and a floor tom? And that like always never made sense to me.
Yeah, totally.
And then there was a point where I just like took my rack toms off and I was like, oh, I'm like thinking about the drum set in a totally different way.
It forces you to like,
especially
I only have the snare. Like, and then now you start using the rim of the snare and the side of the fucking, whatever.
I saw this drummer. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that was
okay.
You just start using different parts of your drum set and start playing it differently.
Yeah, start hitting my
head.
Putting
your cymbals on the floor tom.
Yeah, like just weird shit. Like most of the time it doesn't work, but sometimes you're like,
you never know.
Yeah.
There was this, I saw this drummer play live a couple weeks ago, and he did something I thought was really fucking cool. It was where he flipped his stick, he's playing at the backside, and he was hitting not the rim of his floor tom, but the actual drum. And it was something I had never seen before, and it produced a sound that was just slightly different than a rim, enough to where like when he paired it with the kick, right? So it was so weird.
That's sick.
Yeah,
That's
like
awesome.
he was playing like, I'd never seen anything like it. He was kind of like almost like mirroring his kick on the rim of his floor tom, and it was like a really it was a really big floor tom.
That's cool.
So when he was hitting it, kind of made this big like bassy sound, kind of like how John Bonham would play a floor tom with the kick. And it blew my mind, and I was like, I don't know, it's such an interesting instrument in that way because people are just constantly finding ways to recreate it. You know, it's just like the bass line for everything, and you can achieve that in so many different forms. Like you said, like JD Beck's a
It's actually
example.
not the fucking bass line.
You're the bass
It's
line.
literally not that, but I get what you're saying.
It's the floor. But I like JD Beck's a good example of this.
Totally.
Like a drummer that like literally at the most, it's like a crash snare and hats.
Yeah.
And the dude, the sounds that man is able to produce.
I mean, he's nasty.
Yeah, he's disgusting.
He's insane.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
It's such an interesting instrument for that way. It's like it kind of pushes you, because it's so much different than a guitar, where like you have, like you quite literally do not have the same amount of notes, and like even outside of that, you can't, there's no effects, there's no like, you can't hook up a fucking guitar pedal to a drum set, you know, like there's just so many different limitations. Could you?
You could. Live, it's if you were on like a,
how's that work?
A stage that was big and you had a lot of separation and you had like a sound guy, you could technically put some of the drum mics through like some pedals and then you could like gate them. So but it's just, I feel like it's achievable, but I feel like, and you know, we could do it at the spot like on the recording and stuff, but I feel like live it's tougher than just bringing something else that you control versus trusting somebody else to be like, no, you got to do it this way. And then it's like a random sound guy who's like, I've never done this before. And you're like,
an hour for sound check.
Yeah. And like, I don't blame him. Like, but I'd rather have the control, you know what I mean? Just so I know it's working.
Yeah.
I guess I've never even thought about that, like the implications of touring with a sound guy versus having like local venue sound guys. That's gotta be
I wonder what that's like.
Fucking different. I've honestly never even considered that.
No, I mean,
it's so much better with a sound guy.
I mean, because
we do run into cool sound guys.
We do.
Awesome.
But I think we just fucking hate sound checking.
And
like I think because
of nerves.
I think it's like repetitive. We know how to dial ourselves in.
I mean, we do it for the benefit of whoever's.
We're like, we play half a song. We're like, do you want another one?
Yeah. Like, if the sound guy wants us to sound check, we'll do it. But if they're like, I could give a shit, we're like, let's not.
Cool.
Because I honestly think that's influenced our sound. Honestly, like our laziness and just adherence to wanting to sound.
Just turn up.
Well, because also, dude, like, you know, my setup live used to be slightly more complicated than it is. Like, I used to have a synthesizer, and I used to have like just some other things that needed to be dialed in a little bit more. And I think just it feels so much better to get to a venue and just be like, there's a guitar amp and a bass amp and a drummer and a singer. Like, it's so simple. We can play half a song. You get it, and we're like that. I think
in the green
we
room.
genuinely sound different because of how lazy we are with that shit. But also, one thing I wanted to say too, just about like just about how Max plays drums and also how Sam plays guitar, like, I think something that has always made me feel so happy to be in this band, especially when I was going through this phase of like, just like really just like zooming out way too far and being so like overcome by like, yeah, we just need a song. I think it got me to this place of like really being fine if whatever I was playing sounded like something else or like sounded kind of whatever, but it's just a bass line, so who gives a shit?
Yeah.
And I think these guys have always been so like on another level of something like of just I've like on another level in a sense that like I've never really met any other two people like this who are so genuinely fascinated and excited by shit that sounds different.
Yeah.
And just all of these moments of me just kind of having a whatever bass line and being like, great, just like it doesn't matter what I'm playing, just and being convinced by both of them that like
it does matter.
It does matter, and like it just sounds fine, but you can do something so much better. And like I'm not excited by this song that just sounds like this band or that band, and like really pushing me to like think about what I'm doing again, and really pushing me to not be okay with like just a whatever bass line or whatever song idea. And like I will forever be grateful for that, because I've refound that excitement of like, oh, that does sound different. I wouldn't have played drums like that, or I wouldn't have played a guitar line like that. No. And where I would have been at a year or two ago is like, I wouldn't have played a guitar line like that. Like, what are you doing? Or I wouldn't have played it. Dude, just play the drum line that like sounds is like easy and sounds. And now I'm just so grateful that like I'm excited when Sam's like, I have this idea, and it's like, or Max is like, I'm gonna play this type of beat. Like, oh fuck yeah, that's amazing.
To your point too, though, that's not to say that I don't like ripping people off too. Because there's a lot of like things that they're a little bit more small and detailed and like not.
But I think that's the point.
Yeah, it's like I won't choose like the same 4 consecutive notes of like fucking hit me baby one more time, or like something that's like
you should
fucking ginormous piece of music.
I don't know why you're not fucking doing that.
Because it does bother me when you're like, I don't know, even if someone's singing something, you're like, it's literally just like fucking Bohemian Rhapsody or something. You know what I mean? Like there's that, but it's not that bad, because I feel like there's so many things I like to take from as well that it's just like our taste. And
no, of course, and like I'm no like
when I hear something gnarly like a guitar sound, let's do that.
Yeah, it goes both ways too. I think we just even to answer your drum question.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just. I mean, there's that stuff because I get bored, but I also think like if we're working on something and Sam or Charlie play something or Dylan sing something, it's all of a sudden like the drums need to change now because it's like based on the rhythm that you're doing or like the note that you play reminds me of like of the floor tom or some weird shit like that, and that happens to all of us. It's just like the bouncing.
I guess that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like that's when we have that, it's like there's nothing better.
Yeah, and we play like the instruments that we play, but I do feel like in a weird way we all kind of play all the instruments together.
Yeah.
In a weird
well, at least when we're coming up with ideas and like if everybody is thinking about like, okay, so we're gonna track bass right now, everybody at some point in you tracking bass can be like, what if you tried this?
Yeah.
I'm like, what if you shut the fuck up?
Yeah, exactly. Then it's
but I mean, on that point, like it is really, I think in that point so vital to like have that loss of ego and be like,
oh, absolutely.
And be like,
we talked to like almost those words verbatim was something we talked about when we were like 16.
Really?
Yeah. Just because it was like
that's why it still works. Yeah, we were just talking about 16.
It was just like we all have interest in writing music and writing cool stuff. Max was doing guitar parts, Charlie would do guitar parts and drum parts. You know what I mean? It's just like it was less of, I don't think any of us have more interest in our one instrument than we do like overall like making a song.
That's huge, dude. That is so key. I think
that's the most fun part.
It is. Well, also there's you can't beat somebody being genuinely excited about something.
Yes.
You know, like, and even if like, you know, if like Max is like super hyped on something that we're working on or an idea that he has, like that's enough for Sam, Dylan, and I to be like, yeah, fucking cool. And it goes any way, you know, like. But if it's genuine excitement, you're like, okay, if it's genuine excitement, I don't immediately get it. Like, I'm not, because there's nothing worse than like being shitty about it.
I don't get it.
It's hard. I mean, now we're talking about like communication and stuff. It's like hard to not rain on someone's parade, but also like give your input of like,
be honest.
I think we're gonna get sick of this in a year or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's so key. I guess talking more about that, like, I mean, you guys being a band for like so long at this point, how have you got to this place where the relationship that you guys have, it seems, at least from the outside, so strong and like very much like a brotherhood? Getting to that place, like over the years, have you had to learn like specific things about each other and the way, not only the way that you play, but the way that you are as people, and how did you kind of eventually learn to like get each other in that way?
Well, I mean, like you said, it does feel like a brotherly thing. And with brotherly things, there's always issues that arise, and like any group of people who are around each other 24/7, shit happens, and you know,
like Charlie will fart or something.
Oh my god,
God
just
damn
smells.
Charlie, what the fuck,
See,
dude.
they're fucking complaining about it, but like they're
love it.
Don't say we're gonna like it.
No,
Set that shit up.
But like, with the it's that exactly like it's a very brother relationship, and like we've also grew up from 15 to, I mean, it's been, you know, 10 years. We've really known each other.
10 years,
some of us have known, you know, other longer, but really altogether as a group 15 years. Like, you grow up, you change, your opinions change, your creative opinions change, your view on the world changes. Like
you just as a person change.
Yeah. And like we're almost at the age now where our brains fully developed. So we've developed together, which sometimes has been fucking crazy. But like, now we're here, and now we're stronger than ever. And we've learned from everything, and we've made steps to kind of just move forward and like just be better at communicators and be better at like, you know, facilitating cool shit.
It helps too that we like keep ourselves busy, and we usually are like on top of each other about making sure we meet up. And like when we meet up, it's writing music, because I think it helps me that I like look up to the rest of them like in music way, and then it makes it so that it's like I have some faith that we're gonna do something kind of cool today.
And you know, like I could talk about just this for hours, but you know, like
let's do it.
Like just fuck it, you know, like I'm an only child, so these guys really have. Shut the fuck up.
He said.
But no, these guys are the closest thing I have to actual brothers, and I think just like
I'm gonna throw up.
Shut the fuck, leave, go, dude, fucking don't be in here then. And with the Brotherhood, it's like you have like small stupid issues, and then you know, like, because also, you know, you get the bigger glaring issues over the years too, and it's like when you're faced with those bigger issues, it's like, okay, like, are you gonna be a fucking baby about it, or like, are we gonna work this out? Because like, I love you guys, you know, and like, and at the same time, you know, it's like I can't think of for myself. It's like being 18 and still being in this band, you know, like I can't think of a human being that has a bigger ego on the planet than an 18, 19-year-old boy.
Musician.
You know, musician.
In LA.
You know, it's just, and it's like, it's a fucking miracle that we made it past like 18, 19, 20. And, or, you know.
Like alive?
or just like still
We're
having
still
a
here.
closeness, you know? Like, and arguably like closer than ever in some ways, you know, and having like a real sense of mutual respect for one another and like trust, because I mean, I genuinely trust these guys more than anybody else I know. And it's you know, and I'm so grateful for that, because it's, you know, we know, all of our best friends are pretty much in fucking bands too, and like just all the good times and bad times and things that we've had to overcome together and individually, and that we have overcome. And, you know, we're not perfect, but I think we have the capability at this point to really get through anything. And when our friends come up to us, or me, when they come up to me and, they're venting about like problems they're having with people in their band, I feel so lucky that I'm just like, dude, this is some fucking rookie shit. Like, that's what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
I mean, also too, sometimes, I think I already said this. So I feel like obviously, we're better at like meeting up and actually working on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But even working on stuff, it does feel like we're hanging out anyways.
Yeah.
Or like there's no, you got to lock in and shit and like finish what you got to do. But for the most part, it never really feels like
work.
There was a point where it did feel like that, but I think that was because of external
draining.
sources, and it was like we would meet up and literally stare at each other for 3 hours and be like, "Did you see this meme?" Like, 'cause we just did.
I mean, we got like really good at ping pong for like.
Yeah,
3
we
months.
did.
We just it was terrifying.
We'd
to
start,
work on
we'd be
music.
like, but again, I mean, that's like we were talking about earlier, ebbs and it flows. And, but to add on to what he was saying, it's just like, like we kind of started as friends. We didn't start as a band,
which I think is huge.
We'd known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
Like we were playing together, but like in terms of like we're in a band and there's money involved and like the shit that comes with it, like we were already friends before that. So I feel like that kind of, even when we make music and we hang out, it never feels like, I gotta go work today. It's
Go
like,
back to the old ball and chain.
Yeah. It's like your brothers. It's like you see them every day, and sometimes you're like, I've seen you way too much. And you have to see them again. You're like, what up? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, it is what it is.
And I think there's something so beautiful about that process specifically, right?
Yeah.
It's like because it's like a brother, like you said, like watching somebody from 19 to 20 to 21 all the way up to 28, 30, 40, that's a different person.
How old do you fucking think I am, dude?
It's like 43.
I'm gonna be 43.
Wait, how old are you actually?
42 and a half.
Okay, for sure. That's what I thought.
be 40.
Yeah, young ass 40-year-old. Beautiful
look great,
40-year-old.
Oh, thanks, guys.
No, yeah, but it's like that process, right? Because it's so much different than like meeting somebody at a different point in your life and not seeing the gaps. It's like you guys saw all the gaps. You know when like significant life things happen, and you know why they are the way they are. You know when there's
And
experience.
it is kind of crazy. Like, we haven't had a gap.
Yeah, at
like
all.
other than COVID,
But not even.
but not
dude.
even.
Like,
we were fucking talking like all
every
the
day.
time and making a record. So
Yeah, but dude, that's
Yeah.
also, I think, that's part of it. Can be part of like what makes the hard times so hard.
Oh, yeah.
Is because you're like, I fucking hate how well you know me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, for
like
sure.
if I'm like. There's been so many times where like I've had an opinion on something that I felt really strongly about, and like Sam or Max or Dylan will know why I have that opinion, and you're like, I don't fucking like that you know why I have this opinion about something, and it makes it worse because it's like you don't want to admit that they're right, because like I haven't even thought of it like that sometimes.
It's like when you're like, I like this new idea, and we're all like, we know you
I
like
know.
it.
I'm like, God, fuck, dude.
but it's true.
I know. Like, dude, last week, like Max was like making fun of Dylan and I, and it sucked because it was so, like he was like playing guitar, and he
It's
was
a good
like,
bit.
This is some shit that Charlie would like, and it's like it fucking was.
So I was like, wait, can you play that again?
Yeah, it was like kind of sick.
And then he did the same thing with Dylan, and I laughed because I was like, yeah, there's some shit that Dylan would like.
And that's some brother shit.
Yeah,
you know.
dude.
I mean, I have a sister. I don't have a brother, but like he was saying,
Yeah.
being an only child and not having male siblings or whatever.
Yeah.
It's that to me is what, from people who I know who have brothers. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, 80% of anything we talk about is kind of a bit. Like there's always a joke somewhere.
9-year-long
Like
bit.
we can be serious.
We can't like let people finish their fucking
No,
sentence, especially
no,
this
it's
guy.
bad.
Especially which guy?
Yeah.
Unless we have a mic. in
Okay,
front
so
of
there's
us,
this thing, and
all
I
of
was.
a sudden-
Shut up.
I
I
also a
also-
microphone. Everyone's like, oh. But like normally it's like,
No.
wait.
Yo, shut the fuck up.
I don't know if you guys I don't know if you guys experienced the same thing, too, but I also do that thing where like I'll be at home alone, like just thinking about things, and I'll have conversations with them without them being
No,
there.
straight up.
Like when you know someone well enough that you know how they would respond if you brought something up.
Yeah.
You know?
A-
You're like,
absolutely.
What if I brought
What would
this up?
Charlie
Like, what
think
would they
about
say?
this?
Yeah.
Well, no, and
you can play it
hear-
out to
yeah.
a T.
Yeah.
Like
that's so true.
decisions I make are like either like passively or actively like involving them, even if they're not around.
Or do you guys just?
Yeah.
I just think of Mario all the time. Where like I'll ask him a question, but I know what he's gonna answer before he answers.
You're just asking him for like because you just want some Mario validation.
Yeah.
Outside of your own brain.
Yeah, like I'll come to him with something. I'm like, yo, this sucks, right? And I'm like, yeah, it sucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't even need to exactly.
Yeah.
Dude.
A big thing too is when you make music and you show people your music, I feel like it's kind of a skill in some ways, but some ways I think it just comes naturally. Like if there's something and I'm showing somebody something, kind of what you were about to say, I think, is like you start listening to it through their ears. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this is not good. Or you're like, yeah, this is
No,
sick.
exactly.
And
exactly.
I think that's a really big thing that we do is like when you were saying like when they're not around,
Yeah.
usually someone for that if it's not them, if it's someone else, they have to be in the room with me, I feel like.
Yeah.
But for them, it's definitely like I'll listen to something and be like, Sam's gonna like this. Or I'm like, yo, Charlie's gonna fucking hate this shit.
No, dude, straight. Like I'll be working on shit at home, and like if I'm really excited about it, like I'll know who's gonna back me up on it. You know, I'll be like,
back me up. You like it. You like it.
No, I'll listen to it. I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna show this to the guys because I know at least Sam's gonna want to work on it.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's
1 out of 3.
50% done. You know, or like with all of them though, I'll be like, I really think Dylan's gonna want to work on this. Like,
But there is truth to like.
We're like, Max is gonna hate this.
yeah, Max is gonna hate this, but I know Sam and Dylan will, so fuck him. You know, like.
Hey, wait. There is truth though. Like most of the time, regardless whoever it is, if they hate it at first, by the time it's done,
They love it.
usually everybody's like, okay,
yeah.
I see. I didn't see it, and now I see it. You've shown me the light.
That I think that goes back to that excitement that we were talking about. Where like if you're like, hey, I've got it, and I can tell that you really like it.
Yeah.
Like, dude, here I've got 2 great examples.
Yeah.
First one is Max came up with the idea for Applause. When I first
Love that
heard
song.
it, I was like, yeah.
Really?
But he was gassed on it, and Dylan and Sam like respond. So I was fuck it, whatever, right? And I love that's one of my favorite parts in the set now.
Yeah.
And I also remember a little ditty called Anvil that I approached the guys with that Max fucking
hated that shit.
And eventually, you know, it's just like
I love it.
But you have that like. No, I get it, but I genuinely hear something with this. And
You're gonna like it.
And I know that they'll help me out. I know that eventually, like no one's gonna knock it down if it's coming from that place.
And sometimes it's not fully realized until you bring them into the fold.
Well, exactly.
100%.
That's the other side of it too, where it's like this isn't done yet until like Sam does his bullshit on it. Or, like,
That's such a good. I like that. It's such a good way to put it.
you know, it's true. It's
No,
like,
it's literally like showing your friends your music. And you're like, okay, it's not mixed yet. There's nothing like
Production's not
sometimes
done.
you have to show each other something. You're like, look, it sounds like this way. I know what it can sound like.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have to read between the lines.
But that's also what's so great about what we've been doing lately with like the just like strict regimented like Charlie tone, Sam tone, Max tone, where it's like it adds so much context to any idea that somebody sends because you don't have to go into like you're not hearing it for what it is. You have like active tones and sounds that are going to be applied to this idea now.
It takes out too, like whenever there's a part. It happens at different times when you're working on a new idea. Like it'll always happen circumstantially at different times, but there is like a thing you go through at some point where it's like, no, I already did that.
Yeah.
I did that in a different song, which would be like, it made it so we don't give a shit about that stuff. That stuff's fine.
Yeah. No, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, it's like going over that idea, and you're like, oh wait, like
you just
it
start to
doesn't
funnel
matter.
your playing and your ideas into like, okay, if I can't, you're just like you're avoiding trees. Like you're like, I can't do that, I can't do that.
Yeah, it makes it way simpler.
Do you guys feel like over the course of however crazy long you've been playing together, you've got to this place where like you each are bringing something individual to a song, or do you feel like there's an idea and it's either like a Charlie idea that we all see through, or a Sam idea that we all see through, or a Dylan or a Max idea that we all see through? Or do you guys think that when one of you brings an idea, it's not fully realized till the others get to
I
it?
think
Like,
it's a combination of the
That's
two.
a really good
Because
question.
sometimes if like even I feel like it happened recently, like Max had an idea that was like pretty much a song already, and like you just have to be honest with yourself and be like, this is cool as it is.
Totally.
I'm just gonna play what's like. Why stress yourself out and like be like, no, I could come up with a guitar part for this
Like,
one.
it's done.
Like, no, there's a fucking guitar part right there. You know?
But
and it's cool.
by the same token, though, without that, like, it's cool, but without him playing on it,
like
we
we
fully
would
realize,
re-record it. Yeah,
like it's different because also. It infers what to play, but he never plays that. It's like a version of it, or it doesn't, or it changes. But because you know what I mean, I think,
and it could be like a version in like a Max head that in a Sam head is like the same idea, but it sounds different.
100%. Which is kind of
especially
like,
with like stuff like with guitar parts specifically or bass parts specifically. It's such an individual, subjective thing where like your hands are gonna sound different than his hands, than different than my hands. So like. Sometimes not always the answer too. Like maybe I fucked it up, and we'll go back to the one where the drummer's playing guitar. Yeah, you know, because it sounds better for that recording.
Right.
Obviously not what we're gonna do live, and it's gonna sound like whatever it is live. But
and even just like getting their seal of approval, it like validates what's there. Yeah. You know, like if I've like come in with a song that's already has guitar on it, and Sam's like, that's sick if you want to just keep, you know what I mean? That even that in and of itself, it's like, oh, okay, it is good. Yeah. You know?
It's like reassurance.
Or I'll be thinking like, oh, that's sick. I wonder if I could play it.
I mean, well, that goes back to the trust thing too.
Absolutely.
Where it's like, if you come to this idea, you know you're going to a space where it will be valued no matter what.
Yeah.
Which I think is, I think that's like so key in a band. Like, I think the worst thing you can do, you were talking about that sense of excitement. I think the worst thing you can do is when somebody comes in excited about something, be like, I fucking hate this. Or like,
kill
I
the
hate
vibe.
that.
Yeah.
That's the
and,
worst.
we have a lot of friends bands, and like if you can do it this way, like God bless you, like good luck. But we have a lot of friends that are in band, because I love talking about this with other people in bands, just because every band is different. Of course, every band has a different approach to this stuff that we all have to do. And sometimes I have a conversation where it's like, no, I come in with all the songs and they just play them, and again, if that can work for you, awesome. But I just feel like that could never work in this band because like
it'd just be something else.
It just would be. It would just be something else, and
it's someone's project.
And there's just something special that happens. And I notice it when we're playing live. Like you have those little moments when you're just aware of what's happening, and I'll just look at Sam, and I'll look at Dylan, and I'll look at Max, who are just fully in their own world, doing their own thing, and you're like, that's what makes this so cool. And totally. like what Sam was saying, it's like I'd be a fool to get in the way of any of them doing their thing right now, and that extends to every aspect of writing songs.
Sure, yeah.
And another angle too about this that I talk about a lot is like, especially with the type of music that we play and the types of bands that are trying to do that thing where they're trying to make the audience move, whether that's mosh or bounce or whatever. It's just like have a physical response. A lot of the time with this type of music, you're gonna make the best shit when you're just fucking around and like hanging out and just having a good time. Obviously there's arguments against that, and I'm not discounting like when people are super fucking depressed and they're in a hole and they write this beautiful piece of music. There's been plenty of like huge music that's come from people being like just damaged, but I think there's something different that comes out of everybody just having a good time, and it seems like that could make you relax about the like minutia of writing a song and the technicality of writing a song. It's like, dude, chill out.
And I think the common misconception is that that's not the truth. Like, I think the common misconception is that sad energy or like sad emotion is like
you're gonna write some good shit.
Or even
which you
like
might. You know, it's fine. Totally, you might. It's also kind of toxic though and corrosive behavior. If you're like, oh, whenever I'm sad, I write good art or whatever.
It's like reinforcing a negative emotion.
Yeah, but don't do that. You gotta switch it up.
You know what I think confuses me about that rhetoric is like, even when I'm sad, like the whole point of writing music, like especially with these guys, is it pulls me out of that.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that misconception is, where it's not like, it's like, dude, it's like anybody who's ever been depressed, it's like, you know that you're not doing anything when you're in those states. And it's like the point of creativity and art is like to offer a moment of reprieve. And it's like, so like when you are faced with that stuff, it's like, oh dude, I fucking hate like going down that, because it's like, dude, no, you're it does suck when you're like you don't write good stuff when you are depressed and like working on something. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
Well, like the best shit we've ever come up with, and you know it's good, is when like we're listening back to it and it's like you're laughing.
Yeah, I was just about to say, as long as everybody's listening back to it and they go,
like that. Straight up, those are still the best songs that we've ever written.
I think too, like it's there's a garbage truck.
Oh, shout out the garbage truck.
Shout out.
Comes through the fucking garage.
Fuck yeah.
I think it's kind of like a spectrum of, because there are most times when we make shit and we're laughing, like it's cool and it's awesome and it's smacking, but there are some songs that like require more focus, and I think that the excitement is still there and the like, wow, this is really cool is still there. It just looks a little different sometimes, because most of the music we make is faster and not necessarily tempo wise, but just, you know, more intense or more punkish or metal, whatever. And I think what we were talking about earlier is like, we haven't really tapped into the like somber part of it. We have along the way, like on the album we did, what's it? I think We're Glad When They Arrive.
Oh, I'm glad when they arrive.
Yeah, which we think is like a really cool song, and that was written like, the mood was different, but the excitement was still there, and I would imagine that like
just different kind.
Exactly, it's a different context, and I think some people some days will come to rehearsal with baggage, and it's not necessarily that because of the baggage they're in a bad mood, so therefore whatever. Like if I'm in a bad mood and I have some shit going on, like funneling it into the music, no matter what it turns out to be, it could be somber, it could be intense, it's a therapeutic thing. And I think like when it's almost like the end goal always results in us laughing, but there also is a side of it where like the laughing could be a more of a darker context to it. But it all kind of equates to the same thing.
It's like your emotions like just breaching out a little bit. And like, you know, you are feeling something.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think so much of it too is like trying to get to this place where like I think when emotions stay in your head so long, sometimes you can convince yourself they're not real, which is isn't the truth. And then when you get to the studio or whatever your creative medium is, when you're creating, you get to put them in this context where all of a sudden they're in front of you and they make more sense. It's like when you can write shit down, it gives it context and it makes more sense. And I mean, back to what you were saying about like that weird thing that people will do, they romanticize being upset to like, you know, make impactful art. I think music at its core sometimes can just be like a way to feel real. Like I think like some of the most depressed times I've ever had in my life, when I was able to like convince, because I mean I'm like, I love everything about music, but like I'm incredibly in love with live music, and like I throw shows for that reason. But like growing up, like the worst I ever felt was combated by going to shows and just feeling like I was a real person again, because you're just there and you're watching people that are in front of you doing something that you love and they love it, and you're around people that love it, and all of a sudden you feel the sense of community even though you don't even know these people.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like just feeling real.
Yeah. No, I think that's all so incredibly valid. And you know, because for us, the three of us, you know, like none of us like, you know, none of us are lyricists, you know, so there's a way more like subversive quality to, I think, how we like deal with that shit, you know. And I think it's like, for me, it's really echoing what you just said. It's that cut and dry, where it's like, if I'm happy, if I'm sad, whatever, if I'm just like morbidly like disconnected from the rest of the world, it's like, it's literally the difference between doing something and doing nothing. Yes. And that is so tethering, and it is so like invaluable. And yeah, it makes you feel like a real person again.
It's like ending a bad trip.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
It's like you're in this weird non-realistic version of your head where like you're romanticizing your problems, or like you're looking at them in like just a non-objective lens, right? Yeah. And then when you put them on paper, they just make sense for some reason or another. You see them in front of you.
Get out of your, because just the romanticizing of your problems, and you get out of your own head, and you're like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ, Charlie, like it's
yeah. That was interesting that you just said.
Take a dip.
Yeah.
Take a dip.
Take a dip. Yeah. It was interesting you said none of you guys are lyricists. So that's something that's very interesting about your process. It's cool that you said that you can really like, the way that you're expressing your emotions is a bit more submerged in like a drum beat or a bass line or a guitar line. Like, because that's super valid, and there's so much truth to that. You can feel so much through that instrument. But it is really cool that your guys' approach to songwriting is something where it's like you're all coming in with parts, and those are all coming to songs. And I think in a way, I do feel like that's a bit less traditional than like one or two people being the ones who are writing the songs, right? So you said lyrics are pretty much just Dylan. So what you guys?
Well, he'll when we have a new idea, and it's like the structure of it, and that us three have like most of what the song is on the recording. He'll like kind of scat and do gibberish over it, and the gibberish like almost sounds like words, and then Dylan's really good at just turning it into like phrases that aren't too basic and also not too complicated to where he sounds like he's preaching some bullshit.
He's very good at that.
He's not really a preachy guy with the lyrics, which is refreshing. I don't think it would have worked out as well if he did that, but he's also not just being like sports, you know, wiener dog. He's not doing that exact.
No, Dylan's always been so like Dylan's like superpower in this band too has always been like just kind of championing what we have so much fucking problem with that word, championing.
It's a tough one.
I fucking hate it. I walked right into that one. But
the old championing dilemma.
He's the fucking championing dilemma. He's always been so good at championing what we're doing.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, he's like, which like I've never fucking seen in somebody in his position of just like, you're like, Dylan, this is what we're working on right now, and he's 9 times out of 10 like, cool, can I do something on it?
Yeah.
And like,
he's usually pumped to try stuff out.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
When we first started out, there was like a year and a half where we didn't have a singer. What was it? It was longer than it should have been.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, I mean, I think that's really good like context for this band, because it really was the three of us just doing shit with no singer in mind, just like, oh, that's something we should do at some point.
And then when it did come to that point, we had people come over to Max's house where we were rehearsing at the time, and seeing their vibe or whatever. And then also on top of it, one thing we did with all of the people that were trying out singing, we're like, we're gonna play something and just use the microphone and just come up with something while we're playing. We're just gonna loop parts. And I think Dylan was like one of the only people that could do it.
I think he was the only one. I think like we just played a song.
If there was another person that could do it, it was one other person that could do it, and it was like kind of. But Dylan really was just like, boom, like I can just, you know, gibberish. The gibberish thing I was talking about was like, we were 17 years old and just doing the gibberish shit.
I kind of feel like that's his version of what we're doing with the instruments, where he's scatting based on the energy or the way it makes him feel. And then he writes the lyrics, so you capture the essence of how he feels, and then, you know,
it's mirrored by how you guys feel.
And it's a tough job. Dylan's up like for the
it's so tough
for the kind of music that we play. Like it really isn't just like 1, 4, and 5. It doesn't really lend itself to a melody being sung over every. So like when he's hearing, Dylan has to start out with some shit that's going all like all over the fucking place, and we're like, here you go, deal with that.
Yeah,
And
I know.
he'll just riff on it eventually. At this point now, like when the songs are done, and you're like, yeah, no shit, that melody almost sounds like it's supposed to. Like it is what it is.
Toro is a really
like.
good example of that.
Yeah, like that melody
Very
is like
non-linear. Yeah,
it's there, and it sounds like the right thing for the song, but the song that Dylan received to come up with that, it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? You know?
Yeah, I think every time we write something,
he's probably
there's songs where we feel
literally
like
just God,
he's like, come on, you guys, please.
There's
play
some
a note.
there's some songs that we know like, okay, he can sing, which is kind of what like I was saying earlier about the dichotomy between like the 0 and 10s. Like we do want him to show his voice off more.
Yeah.
But just as a thing to commend him, like most of the time, it's just like we'll make something, we're just like, I don't know, it's gonna be fun. I'll listen back and I'm like,
and he always gets
I don't know.
None of the shit we're working on now. None of the shit we're working on now. I have no idea.
I have no idea.
I have no
idea what he's
I
gonna
like
do.
listen to the instrumentals in the car, and I'm like, I'm so fucking glad I don't have to sing on this.
yeah, dude.
And he usually too, if it gets to the point where, I mean, it's literally like, guys, like, I need something.
Yeah.
We will shift the song so it gives him something, and then sometimes take it out again. So that he finds something.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
he could just
leave it,
record it, and then it's like, oh, now it's just what he came up with in drums, and it's just the same.
Yeah. For context, well, actually, I'll do this first. For context, how do you guys meet Dylan? And I guess just to add context to everything we were just talking about. So it was you three, like when you were just kids, and then you got a little bit older, and you found Dylan.
Yeah.
How did you find Dylan? And at that point, were you taking the band seriously? When did you kind of get to that place where you're like, all right, we need a singer.
We knew we were gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, if we're gonna
find
do
a singer.
this.
Yeah.
I feel like 28 is when we
28.
2018 when we like put
40.
out like Toro is when we were like we are a band. But I went to School of Rock with Dylan when I was like 7. That's how I met him.
Whoa.
And you played Little League with him.
Yeah.
So he was just around the area. You guys were
He was literally around.
We all kind of were like part of each other's social circles indirectly. Like we knew each
you
other
went to
through
School of
other
Rock
people.
too.
Yeah.
And then that's how the three of us met. Did you meet Dylan at School of Rock? Or did you meet
Dylan
post
left
School of Rock?
when they moved locations, and then because they moved locations, it was more in my area. It was brought to my attention. My parents wanted me to go there, and
and that's how like that kind of happened.
Yeah.
And then I went to high school with him, and then slowly started to form. And we were Dylan wasn't in the picture, but we had another member at the time, and we were just kind of playing whatever shows, and like it was pretty much like a jam band.
it was kind of like it was like 3 covers and 3 sort of original ideas.
And then we did that for a while, and then obviously we're like, okay, we need someone to sing, because I think Sam at one point was singing.
Yeah, he was.
We were probably singing at one point.
The other guy,
and then and then then we remembered we you know, like he was saying, we had like some loose auditions, like no pressure. It was just, you know, Trent fucking around stuff. But we remember we all knew Dylan. And we're like, let's just have him come in.
And then
he
was like a singer.
Yeah, he was like
the guy that sang in other bands, and we're like, why don't we just fucking ask him?
I'm sure he at the time was like, why didn't you ask sooner?
He actually,
I'm sure he was like,
definitely.
I thought of this before you guys did.
He actually, our second show ever, he was at. So he watched the band without him in it.
And then I think
he joined after that.
No, but what happened was after he came to your house and we were like, that was like, he thought we were asking him to just come play at a show. And then
Or show.
I think he was just. I think he thought that he was gonna sing with us for a show.
No, was when you found Dylan and like there was that moment where like, oh, like this is it? Did things feel like a flash in the pan different? Like, I guess not flash in the pan, but I guess the word would be like that lightning bolt that you find. You're like, oh, like this is full now.
Well, it totally gave context to like all the like bullshit jams we were doing, you know, and like we were like, maybe this song should be 4 minutes.
Yeah, I kind of gave it a point.
Yeah, it did give it a point.
I remember the first show we played with Dylan. I was like, oh, this is fucking sick. Yeah. This is what this band should have been. And will be, you know.
That was the Daisy Festival thing?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
20.
Was it called All Your Friends?
All Your Friends.
And,
oh, yeah.
It's a cool name.
And, I think credit to Daisy, who was running it, for giving us that spot, because there was like bands on that bill. Like we should not have been playing that, but it was actually kind of sick.
She gave us a shot.
Yeah.
She gave us a chance.
She gave us a shot.
See something in you, fucking
in this industry. That's all you need.
Right.
I'm gonna open the door for you.
It's like that Pink Floyd song, "Have a Cigar." It's like, way to give you a shot, kid.
Exactly.
Going back to what you're saying, though, I guess just to wrap up the Dylan singing glazing. It is incredible, like what he's able to do with this lyrical style that is sometimes it's wordy but not preachy in this way that I think totes a line so well. And I guess just moving into the EP a little bit, I think More is a really good example of that, where he's like talking about something pointed, but it's just abstract enough where I think it can be like kind of like reflect on other experiences. I want to talk about that song specifically. I think it's my favorite song on the record, and I love it. And I wanted to ask about the music video as well, because I had a very specific interpretation of it, and I was really curious.
I want to know.
Yeah, if I was right.
Yeah, you go first.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Like, so I watched the music video, and the lyrics are very much about like this concept of like wanting more out of your life and like feeling like you're stuck in this place. And it's kind of like the main character of the music video is like this man in kind of like this blue collar outfit in like this what looks like a shipyard or something, like electronic field or whatever.
That's exactly what it was.
And okay, cool, nice. But it's like what I kind of got out of it was like Dylan singing about like really wanting this thing and feeling like he's been left behind his whole life and just wanting music and this career to be tangible and be his thing, but it's contrasted with this man who's working like this just normal day job, and it kind of felt like him running from that. I also project that fucking sentiment onto a ton of songs, so maybe that's just fully me projecting, but I was curious what kind of lyrical content behind that was.
I think it's so cool when we have a music video idea that it's like the conception of the idea has way more to do with like, I'm gonna do this cool trick on camera, or like I wanna get this thing on camera, and then we put it out, and that's all I've thought about. And then people are like, oh, it's about Hollywood and like the Valley, and like when the Wash video came out, and people thought that the monster was like a metaphor for like, I don't know, slime and shit in Hollywood. And, they're like
the elites.
Yeah, they were like, like someone's like,
that's hard to control. I hate when people say that. The
elites.
Yeah.
Fuck, like,
the coastal.
It's about the coastal war. You know, like what? No, but for I like. And
was I off?
No, not at all. Because what you're saying, I think, is what a lot of people have thought that. What it meant to them, which was so cool that it meant something a little bit like deeper than what we were doing. I swear that music idea was really just, we have this friend Keegan who we met at a show in DC, and then he ended up moving to Van Nuys, and then he's a video guy and has great ideas for music videos and stuff, and he's pretty busy now doing all that stuff. And he and I were just talking about like what could we do for any one of these songs, and we started just coming up with ideas for the songs. Keegan's dad is a choreographer and a dance teacher, and that's Keegan's dad.
Like the guy who's dancing?
Yeah.
Sick.
And they're from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And just his dad became a fan of our band when Keegan became a fan of our band, and like his dad told me that like his dance class's final project was with one of our songs.
That's really cool.
Something like that. So it was we were connecting with him at first, and then we threw out the idea of having like, really what it was is like we want to do a Beastie Boys video for More.
Nice.
Where like we have a wide lens and Dylan's like talking at camera.
It's
and,
such
like,
a cool shot.
Throwing up his hands and stuff like that. And it was about that, and then it was like, what are like something else that we can like, so it's not just that the entire time.
Yeah.
We were talking about like having people dance on it. We're like, who could dance on this? And then Keegan brought up his dad, and then we kind of just talked to him about doing the dance. And then for like 3 months, for a long time, I don't know how long it actually took, but for a while, it was just Greg, his name's Greg, just sending us videos of himself trying things on more. And it'd be like a second of more where like there's like a nuancy thing happening, like a guitar sound effect or like something atonal happening, or like a drum beat would like happen, and he'd have a move for that thing. Yeah. And he'd send like 6 options for that one little part.
So cool.
And we would just go back and forth like, this is cool, let's try this, let's do a pass like this, let's do a pass like this. And it ended up being just like kind of this perfect, because what was cool about him is his look, like what you're saying, like what made you think about all those things, like the deeper meaning thing is like it's middle-aged man, which he also said at the beginning. He was like, what are people gonna think of that this middle-aged man?
It's so
like
cool,
talking about how he wants more of whatever the fuck, like, is it weird? And I was like, I think that is what I like about this scenario is like, in his life through dance, he's danced since he was a kid. He's had dance people be like, you do that, and then he's had like dads and like Mechanicsburg people being like, you do that. So like both sides of his life, dance people and just people that like he'd meet just socially, would be surprised.
Yeah,
like,
he does not look like a dancer.
No. There was nobody around him that wasn't surprised that he was moving the way he would move, and the way he moves is like
agile.
What the fuck are you, like, this is crazy. But he is he's a really cool guy. I feel like we all felt really lucky to do that, and it also, us being in the video was fun too. I think there was a time where we didn't feel like we needed to be performing in videos that much, which I still am fine with. Like that's always cool when it's not just like the band's on a stage and there's some funny gizmo going on, you know. Like that's fun at times, but it was cool to go back to us all individually having like a moment on a music video where like, because we were singing, all 3 of us were singing lyrics at different times in that, so it was like everybody got to be Dylan for a second on more, and like be like, what would it be like if Charlie was a frontman, or what would it be like if Max was a frontman? And then
it was fun.
You guys are like just good at what you do, so it's just it made it super easy to edit.
Yeah, from a filmmaking perspective, I really love that low angle shot with the kind of like the wide angle lens, where it's like you just come up and it's warped a little bit on the sides, where the aspect ratio is not exactly correct.
And it was. I feel like it was, the thought was always like, put the camera there, don't touch it. Yeah, and then we're
it's
just
a character.
It's gonna, and then we're gonna do like this kind of edit trick where we edit and hard cut between each take, and people are moving on the set.
Practically made itself.
Yeah, basically.
I think another reason I projected that meaning onto it was because at the end there's like this part where it's just going from like day to night and day to night.
Yeah.
And it really made me think of like the idea of like somebody working in a shipyard day after
Groundhog
day after
Day.
day. Yeah. But like Dylan singing about like
that was literally just an effect. That was like, I want to do something.
Oh, got too excited.
Oh god. That was, but
you said effect, and I was like,
no, that's cool that it translated in some sort of way like that. But it really was just like, I wonder what would happen if we hard cut the same performance that we do a shot of at day and at night, and we didn't touch the camera, and it was like, oh, I bet this would be a cool effect that you don't have to like know how to do like 3D art or something. Yeah, I'm not animating anything or something like that. It was just like, this is kind of like a little quirky thing that we could do. Quirky thing.
Yeah, no, it was super sick. Do you guys have people project meanings like that onto your songs a lot? And if so, or how close are they to the reality often?
With Dylan's lyrics, because of now you know like what his head's at when he's writing those lyrics. He's not thinking like, oh, I'm gonna write a song about the political state of the world right now, like, and then people will say like it's about fucking
goblins.
What was that Jaden Smith thing?
Oh, the political and economic
state
of the
just
world.
Be talking about the political the socioeconomic state of the world right now, man. God,
I saw him at the beach a couple months ago.
That dude's just
and
thinking too hard.
Every bone in my body
smoking.
Had to like convince me to not go say that to him.
Yeah, I know.
Because he was like right there. I was like, that's Jaden Smith. He's like right there.
So like, hey, can we talk about the socioeconomic state of the world right now?
He probably would have smacked the shit out of me.
Yeah. I mean, I bet, dude, that probably happens to him every day.
For sure. I honestly feel bad because like he was trying, he's just a kid trying to do I guess somewhat admirable thing. You should
at the very least, he said something kind of funny, and it's
just
funny.
Like, we're laughing.
It's just
right
funny.
Now.
Yeah. No, exactly.
I mean, my thing with always like the adding meaning to lyrics, it falls very much in line with what I was saying earlier about like just people just ransacking you for like what's the story here?
Yeah.
And you're like,
or even when people, even simpler, when people ask what kind of music do you play, like what genre is your music?
Yeah.
I'm like,
that's so hard.
Isn't that up to you?
Yeah.
It's the same with like the song meaning of the songs or the meaning of the videos. Like, isn't that for you to just you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Post punk.
Yeah.
rock.
Post hardcore.
Yeah.
But I just
baby metal.
that's a good answer.
Baby metal's sick.
I've just never personally listened to music like that. Like I've never
me neither.
I've never analyzed lyrics too much. Like don't get me wrong, like there's lyrics I hear sometimes that I just are awesome for one reason or another. Like literally I saw Graham right before this and he played me this song by this band. Some hardcore band. I don't remember the name, but the lyric, it's just feedback, and this dude's screaming the first lyric, and he says, "I stopped going to church when they stopped feeding me." Oh. And like, you know what I mean? I just like every now and again, I'm like, okay, that's the craziest shit I've ever heard, but I've never listened to music
like. Oh, I get that. Yeah.
Like I've never. That's never been why I get my enjoyment out of it. And I think when you get older and you start, for me, you
Bro, he is 42.
Yeah, when you get into your 40s. But you get a little older and you start, like your intake of different types of music widens.
Yeah.
And people start, you learn that people do care about like what, like poetry in music. I mean, that's what it is, and people do care about like the weight and the charm and the importance of the lyrics. And then so you start, I think we did start going down that rabbit hole for a little bit, but it's just like the best shit is just the shit that like why that lyric that I heard earlier today I thought was cool is because that guy felt like if Dylan sang that lyric, it wouldn't be cool. You know what I mean? Like
that we would roast him. If
you know what I mean? Like if Dylan was like, "Yo, guys, check this out. Like I stopped going to church and they stopped beating me," you'd be like, "What?" But like, oh my god, what? Yeah, you'd be like, because that's just not him. You know? And I think like anytime a lyric hits my ears in a way that it actually resonates. It's never been me projecting my own feelings onto it. It's been me listening to somebody who clearly is saying something that they are really trying to be very specific about. Yeah. And it's authentically what they're trying to say. That stuff, if you're doing that on any level, it's cool.
Yeah. I think if someone just has something to say, and obviously that's a very like normal, there's nothing special about that. Yeah. But I think it means more than it seems like it means, because it's like if you have something to say, no matter what the lyrics are, they could be the simplest, dumbest shit ever, but the most way abstract, you say them and that way, how you say them, and the fact that you can tell that this person's not fucking lying. Yeah. It's like what you're saying about Dylan saying that lyric, like it would be insane. But if Dylan said some shit about his experience that like he felt like he needed to say and like he wanted to say, and you can feel it through the music, like even like Creep by Radiohead, you know what I mean, like the lyrics are like whatever, but like you can tell it actually feels that way. You know what I mean?
And I think those are like, because I think we all really try to like stay away from giving Dylan like notes on lyrics, and I do think the only time that any of us will chime in is if it feels like maybe it's not even a lyric thing, but he's not singing it in a way that feels like he means it, and sometimes it is a lyric thing, and he's generally really good about like, yeah, you're right, and then that's the only time it'll get changed, and then because he always finds that thing where you're like, oh, okay, I don't know what this is about, I have no idea what it means, but it coming out of your voice, the way, and it now it's believable. Yeah, and I have no notes. You know what I mean? You can sing about whatever you want as long as I feel like you're talking to me in a way that feels genuine.
Yeah. That's something that I think I'm so in love with about hip hop. is like
straight up.
It is like the difference in between.
Word, dog.
Straight up.
Straight up.
Can I say that? I've had to pee for like an hour and 45 minutes. All right,
we can talk.
Yeah, we can talk.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go pee.
In a pee. Yeah. It just.
No, I don't want to leave now because as soon as I leave the fucking room, I'm dead.
Yeah,
you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm going to pee.
Wait till he leaves and then we'll start.
Okay.
Fuck you.
It's into the straight in and then all the way down the hallway.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just delete that part.
Or you can just go in like the living room and
No,
shit, like a
do
regular litter
not
box.
delete
We're not
that.
deleting anything.
Yeah. This is live.
We're not deleting anything.
I wasn't listening. Where's the bathroom? Thank you.
Yeah. Damn.
Thanks,
So
dog.
bright a second ago. Where did Mario go? Oh, he's showing in the bathroom. Okay. But anyway,
Charlie.
That was hilarious.
Charlie just walked back in the room for a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, like about hip hop, bro. It's like so much of it is not even what you're saying, but it's like how you say it
Yeah,
sometimes.
totally,
Like I think like two totally different examples of this, but like MC Ride from Death Grips and like Mac Miller are two like very different examples of this. But I think one thing specifically is like on Mac Miller's one posthumous album, Circles. I think the way the vocals are mixed on that record, and John Bryan did that record, and that guy is just a genius. But the way the vocals are mixed on that record, they just are so in your ear. Like it sounds so personal. Like it sounds like he's talking to you. I think so much of that is in what it's like the way he says it, not what he's saying.
100%.
You know, it's just like how it feels like he's talking to you in a way. I feel like it's so valuable. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be said on that.
Totally.
Talking about the EP a bit. I feel like I should wait for Charlie now.
Fuck him.
Fuck him.
He'll hop in.
I was gonna ask a hella pointed question about the EP.
Pointed towards him.
No, just in general. I'll ask it and then you can just chime in.
Yeah.
So this project that came out in June, I guess that was like what 3-4 months ago at this point. So it's still like relatively new, relatively fresh. This EP, opposed to like the album and the stuff that came before it, is there anything on this project that you guys feel like you hit that you hadn't been able to previously? Anything that you felt like came across better on this one than anything in the past?
For sure.
Yeah. I feel like the first EP we put out when we were, and this goes with like the age thing we were talking about earlier and growing up, like when we were 16 writing those first EP songs, you could hear the influences, like we wore them on our sleeve, very alt rock, very Queens of the Stone Age, Rage Against the Machine, like it's just very obvious. And I think those are just a byproduct of like being young and being like, I love these bands, like Foals and stuff, and being obsessed with them and making music like that. And then I think we got older and too cool for school for a little bit, and we were like, yo, fuck alt rock, let's make some weird shit. Yeah. Which we did, which was TV or Not TV. And granted, it's not like that weird compared to most things, but in terms of like most things that we were listening to, it was different. Yeah. And I think we had a lot of fun making it. But I think after it was out and moving forward, with this EP specifically, I feel like we grew up even more, and we were like, okay, we did the super alty mainstream, music record, KF or K Rock album, and then we fully pivoted to like being cool. Now it's like, all right, we learned from this situation, what can we take from both of these things that we liked and make, and I think that's what the EP is. Yeah. Where it's like, there's still like the energy and the sounds of the record of TV Not TV, but it has the songwriting of more conventional verse chorus stuff. Yeah. And the songs are shorter and they get to the point. There's like some good melodies. It's more structured, but structured with a bit of the chaos that we learned from the record. Yeah. So I think I thought we did that pretty good, and I feel like it's a stepping stone as every, record people make us, but you know, it's a stepping stone for the next thing. And I think we've, even by making, because we had spent so long making the EP, not by our own doing, but by external forces, like, I feel like by the time, even when we were making it and like almost putting it out, we already knew what we wanted to do next. So I feel like it's a stepping stone, but
you're screwing shit up. Come on.
Hey, come back here, Charlie.
He was looking for a good point of interest.
Yeah. Come on.
Straight up.
He's like, in Charlie.
Word, dog.
Straight up.
Straight up.
But yeah, I feel like we did a really good job of taking the best things out of those two last things we did.
Yeah.
And that's what the EP is. But I also think the EP.
I'm so sorry, bro. Can you turn the mic?
Oh, yes, sir.
Thank you. You're good.
I also think, looking at the EP now, going forward, I know we'll look back on it, and I know it's a stepping stone to get to what we're making now in the future. Yeah. I'm not saying the next thing we make is going to be like the magnum opus, but I think we did the combination for the first time, and we learned a lot from the combination. Yeah. Therefore, I think the next thing is going to be a better version of that. Yeah. And a focused version, especially with what we were talking about earlier about like the tones and finding like the nucleus of what we're making.
Well, just the attitude too of writing music.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, having to go through those things to now have this completely different attitude that we've landed on. Towards, like relaxing about everything.
I was totally. Was that?
Straight up.
Type shit.
Type shit.
That's so interesting to hear because that was kind of what I assumed, and I was wondering if that's why it was the self-titled, is because you kind of reverted back to this place where like, oh, like we found the Liily sound.
Yeah, we honestly, it's almost like, I mean, there's a couple of reasons why we named it Liily. Yeah. And why the album covers Liily and it's us. I think because of the TV or Not TV, we went so abstract and so like, I don't really know who this band, like who are the guys playing, which I think can be cool, but I think it wasn't fully true to who we are. Yeah. And I think this EP, we kind of came to the conclusion of, well, first of all, anytime we tell people our band name, Liily, they for some reason can't find it. And we've been told that a lot of times.
Really?
Yes, to most people, like our friends and shit, they're just like, yeah, why would anyone get that wrong? But surprisingly, people do get it wrong.
Huh. Not surprising.
But yeah, we spelled it wrong. Two I's and
we spelled it wrong.
We spelled it wrong.
Well, yeah, I've seen it. I've spelled it for people, and I've seen it just shut their brain
they're like
Liily.
You're like,
best is when we go to a show and the marquee is wrong.
I spell it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, that's happened a few times too. But like,
dude, that's so,
that was
like,
one thing.
Up. Like,
I know it's
that's
crazy.
so fucking disrespectful, bro. Like
crazy.
You have one fucking job. Look up the fucking name of the band.
Well, I'd like to think they look it up and think that it's spelled wrong.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, so
on everything.
Yeah.
Like
well, what did it say?
Google fucked it.
What did it say in Boise?
Idaho? Yeah. Okay. So we went to Idaho, and the person, I think there was a band before, and they like didn't fully erase the name of the band before. That was the story that was told to us. That could be complete bullshit, and they were just like trying to make a statement or something. But on the sign it said "The Strange Lily," which was like, it's kind of sick, but also like, what is that? Are you like digging at us, or is that just a mistake?
They're hella strange.
They're fucking weird. I don't know what they're doing here.
The strange.
That again
as like an adjective.
More
something new.
More examples of like just it's for some reason it's hard to understand.
Yeah.
So I think it was us also reinforcing like, the album is Liily.
Yeah.
Liily. It's on the name of it. It's on the record cover, and I also think we put ourselves on the cover because I think it's like I guess in a rebrand, but like a soft one where it's like, hey, reminding people, because we also hadn't put out music in a long time, reminding people like, this is a band. These are the people in it. Because also too, we had members coming in and out on the last two records, so we had to make it known like, these are the 4 people in the band. This is what the name of the band is. Yeah. Here are the songs.
So, like, off the back of that, like, post this project, do you guys feel like you're going into a place where it's kind of like a bit of a new chapter for the band?
Yeah, that's going to happen automatically for everybody, just because as long as you stay in the band and you're doing it over the course of several years, you're going to do something completely new every month.
Yeah.
You know,
but for me lately, you know, after like kind of everything that's happened leading up to us putting out these songs and like in the direct aftermath of releasing them, it feels like more people get it. Like it just feel I don't know how a better way to articulate it than that. It just feels like the people that are around us these days and the people that are at our shows and the people that just we meet out and about, it just the whole thing to me feels like it's starting to have this like narrowing in effect, and this like cohesion that's really finally starting to like just like a general understanding. I don't know. Do you guys know what I'm talking
like
about?
finding where you fit.
I think the reason why they didn't see that and they see that now, why they didn't see that and they see that now, or people see it now, is because kind of everything that we've talked about here today, where I feel like before people could tell that we were more organized is the wrong word, but not like a unit.
Gotcha.
It still felt a little fragmented and like, who are you guys? Like, not like what's the story, but like,
what do you guys feel?
What is the band?
Just a general confusion.
General confusion. And like, what is it that Dylan's saying? Like, what is it that the music you're making, what is that saying? Like, who are you guys? And I think we've recently, because I think of making the EP and other stuff, have like kind of figured out way more than we ever have who we are and what we want to do and like what the kind of stuff we want to make, the kind of people we want to be surrounded by, the kind of bands we look up to and whatever, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think other people see that more now. And I even think at the live show, you can really tell.
Yeah.
Because we've always had like 5 people on stage, which was cool.
1 times 6.
Yeah, 1 times 6, which is wild too. And then we boiled it down to having 4, which I think at the core of the band was always the band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was the people who were in it from the beginning. And I think people coming to the show and seeing the music and seeing the videos and kind of seeing the whole ethos of the band is more like, oh, okay, they're actually like tapping into, they're believing what they're doing more, and they're tapping into like who they are, and it's coming across. And that's why I think more people are like, oh, cool, like I think I actually am understanding this. And I think the next record is kind of like the next part of like, yes, this is it.
It feels like I have to, like, I don't have to I can like I don't have to like convince people as much.
Yeah.
Or like I can take my hands a little. I don't actually. Yeah. I
know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's a super weird part of branding, where it's like it's not really this tangible thing, but with
exactly.
It's very intangible, but it's like, it's like, who are you, and like, what does that mean? Well, it's not like a story thing. It's not really like a.
And you spend, and I think you like I spent way too, like when those questions were first like asked.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us had ever even thought of it, which I think is a good thing to a certain degree. And then I just spent way too much time overanalyzing that.
Yeah.
And the whole thing starts to get like, you go too detail oriented for me at least. Again, the whole thing gets lost, and
it's no longer you.
No, it's not. And like these very simple questions get really like blown out of proportion. And on these last few tours that we've done and this last year that we've had, it just feels like there's been this fully functioning machine that just hasn't been turned on. And like now it's like the gears are starting to turn, and like I said, you know, like again, like I really like that point you brought up about playing a show and understanding like what you are and what you aren't. Because that I didn't even think of it like that, but that was what changed with me. Was just like in this state of like, fuck it, we just have shows to play, and we're gonna go play them, and we're gonna do our best. And in that, really figuring out what this band is and what it can be and what it isn't, and where I've been like sniffing in the wrong direction. Because
no, that makes perfect sense. It's like you said, it's very intangible. And it's strange.
It's like a pile of clay that's like slowly being molded into like something. You know what I mean? And I feel like we've been since the beginning have been slowly trying to mold it into something, and I think now we have tools. You know, before we were just using our hands. Yeah. Which can work, but I think now that we have the right tools and like also the right people surrounding us, I think was a really big thing we did recently. Is like,
was that a big change for you guys?
It was, because there was just, you know, a lot of different ideas of what people had of who we were, and I think that was also something that was kind of fucking with us, is like when there's a lot of people telling you what you should be and like what you could be, it's like, well, what am I? I think we never really had the opportunity to do that until recently. And I think getting the right people who actually understand what we want to do and fully get it and grasp it, that's also helped us be like, oh shit, okay, nobody's telling me some external shit about it's coming from them. It's now I can think about it as myself and as a band, and we can talk about it, and we can actually like, oh, okay, this is Liily, not whatever all this other shit that we've been almost told, and like, you know,
and just trying stuff on, like, just having the freedom and control to be like, okay, the four of us like this idea, let's try it, and we try it then and there. Not even song stuff, just like general band, like whether it's a t-shirt or whether it's like who we want to play a show with, branding, or the wrestling idea, right? It's no longer this like bureaucratic like decision by committee, and you hope you don't get egg on your face because then the person that was telling you it was a bad idea is going to be right, and then now they have leverage over you.
Ego.
Well, now it's just like, cool, we try things on our own volition, and if they work, we do them again, and we're like, oh, cool, we were. And if they don't work, though, you're like, well, now we actually know because it's an idea that came from us, and we tried it, and it didn't work.
Which is all the same. It's all the same shit as trying songs in front of people at shows.
Well, and to elaborate too on this whole thing, just like this sort of evolution theme that we've been talking about a lot, and growing up and stuff. When we first were around the people we were around at the time when we were involved with them, like, it made total sense. You know what I mean? And they worked their ass off, and they did what they needed to do for us at the time. But I think just like us, and that when people grow up, and we started forming more opinions and being like, wait, you know, what's my identity? What's my identity as the band? What's the band's identity? And I think just, you know, people, just like any relationship, you know, they drift apart. And I think that's just kind of how it went. You know?
I think there's like this really strange thing that happens when someone's telling you what you are. And if you're a non-ego driven person who wants to hear everybody's opinion out, it's very natural and very human and very like holistic to like hear those opinions out. But sometimes you let them affect you too much. Like sometimes you have this place where like you're allowing people to tell you what you are when literally nobody knows that better than you, and there's no way they ever could. But it's just part of like learning and figuring out, like, it doesn't make you a selfish or like non-receptive person to tell somebody who you are, because you know, and that's like no one's ever gonna know better than you.
That sort of shit wrecked me for a while. And like to the point where, like, you know what I mean, I couldn't make a decision. And I mean, like, I'm talking like just on like a general like life level at the grocery store. I couldn't make a fucking decision about anything. Because of like having the three of these guys' voices in my head making this, like, that's enough, you know, like I don't need any more than that. You know, and that it was like, you know, just this cesspool of opinions in my head that just destroyed me for a while.
It's not you, it's not Liily.
Exactly.
It's bizarre. Talking about, just change gears, but talking about kind of having this record precede the last one, and you were talking about how in the last project you felt like you were trying to like sound like a lot of different bands, and then you mentioned that this one you were trying to figure out like what Liily was, what Liily sounded like. How conscious is it in your guys' mind when you're writing and recording of like pursuing that level of difference? Like, are you always actively trying to find something that you've never heard before, or are you just kind of seeing what comes out? If it sounds like Liily, it sounds like Liily, or are you kind of like, no, I've heard this, and for that reason I'm turned off by it?
I think somewhere along the way we take note of details in the process of finishing a song. So what we've been doing lately is like understanding, being honest with ourselves, knowing that when we're all four in a room working on something together and like all four of us are talking about the bass part of the drums, like what we were talking about, that's like how you kind of automatically, without trying, get like what Liily sounds like, because everybody's just doing, and also doing their individual thing. Like the reason why we jam on something for a second still is because everybody needs a second to just come up with their own part, but without it being like record, okay, 1 2 3 go.
Like you need to get comfortable with it.
You need like it to be happening now, and it like the drums, like when anytime we're playing something in drums, you're playing drums are very like now it's happening, you know, and it's like playing on top of that and just having the space to like, okay, let me figure this out. I have a couple of things, but I'm not married to them. So when we track it, maybe I'll switch it up a little. But doing that and just sticking to that, we've been setting ourselves up to sound like just what we sound like.
I think it's what I was saying earlier too, is how I feel about this is, or a flavor of what I was saying earlier, like it's redefining for me like what makes you, like what excites you. And like what I was saying earlier about what's great about these guys is I really think what excites them is something like, and I say this like with all as much humility as I can say this, because you can't write something ever that just sounds like nothing that's ever existed. But I do genuinely think that these guys, that is where their excitement lies, in just like, because I think a lot of songwriting is like problem solving. You know, like what works, what doesn't, and what does this feel awesome the whole time, and how can we make this part that's not feeling great better? And I think the answer generally lies in, well, I feel like I don't like this part right now because it just kind of, it's like it's either boring or it just sounds like this band or it sounds like that band. Not in a, and so, look, sometimes that can be a cool thing. Sometimes like you have those moments in a song where it's like, oh, that is like totally System of a Down. But like for that one moment, it makes the whole song actually cooler. But that's not the point I'm making. Is not really that. It's more like, to answer your question from my perspective, I don't think it's necessarily a conscious like, let's find out what Liily is here. But just like all we want to do is show up, hang out with each other, and write stuff that we're genuinely excited about.
None of it's forced.
None of it's forced. And it's like that thing where it's like you ever like wake up and you're like, today I'm gonna write a song.
It's weird.
It's like every time I've ever done that, it's been the worst shit I've ever heard in my life.
For anybody. I don't know who needs to hear this right now. Anybody sitting down and being like, I'm gonna write a song right now, you've already lost. You're done.
It's like the best shit I think the best shit comes from like having, when I'm at home or when I'm with these guys, it's like just having an instrument in my hands and just doing and talking to Max while I'm playing or watching TV, or just like, hey, let's jam for 5 minutes right now. Let's not jam for 2.5 hours like we used to. And you're just fucking like, let me just like force myself into flow state or whatever. Like,
but it's fucking psychotic.
It does, and you don't even know what's up and what's down anymore. But it's just like, let's just hang out with each other and enjoy each other's company. And if something cool happens, that's great.
I think what does excite us though, like if I'm trying to describe how some certain things make me feel, I feel like if it's unique and it's timeless, those are two things that I feel like when those converge,
you don't fall out of love.
You're just like, it could have come out 70 years ago, could come out 70 years from now, but at the same time it's unique and it's unlike not anything you've ever heard, but like it's just different, because the timeless part is the part where it's familiar and you're like, oh, that makes me feel good, I know I'm familiar with this, and the unique part is the part that you're going out to deep waters a little bit and you're testing and kind of flipping the timeless thing on its head.
I think a lot of it too is like, I mean, on that timeless note, it's like making something that's timeless with yourself. It's like making a song and then knowing that this is something that you'll go back to for the next 3 years, and be like, oh, I love this still.
That's hard.
And
that's a tough.
So
it's a tough.
hard. There's a lot, like especially with musicians, artists in general, but especially with musicians, because songs, it's like a minute, have 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that. And if you listen to it over and over and over and over again,
it's bound to get old.
9 times out of 10, it's gonna get old. But there are a lot of songs that we've played, like, we played from the time our first EP came out till now, that's not Toro, that we actually enjoy.
Wash. We love playing Wash.
Or Wash, or like Robot Craps.
I mean, how many years old is Wash?
Yeah, totally.
Wash is 5 years old at this point.
Yeah. And we have not...
We haven't come up with a better opener.
Yeah. We opened with that. There was one time we switched it and we were like, nah, that sucks.
We do have one that has potential to be.
Yeah, we have a new one that has a potential to be an opener. But I think,
that's
like
also
you're
such
saying,
a cool goal.
Exactly. The set list thing where it's like, I see it like, oh, this could be a cool opener.
Yeah.
And then, like going into an idea of being like, we should try to come up with something that has the vibe of an opener, so that we don't have to do Wash for like 10 more years. Which is fine too, because that song doesn't really get old.
No, people do like that song, which is cool.
It's a good song.
Yeah. It's nice too, because I think when obviously our show's pretty much like, we're like laying down backstage, like playing video games or like watching reels or some shit, to blasting out of a rocket and like shaking our bodies and like twisting our necks, and Dylan's fucking screaming at the top of his lungs, puking. Like, I think Wash is such a good first song because the way it starts is you get into the song.
It's like a warm-up.
You get into the verse, and then you get to the pinnacle of the crazy part, and by that
it runs
time,
like this.
Yes. So you get to the point so that you're there for the whole set, versus like playing a crazy song off rip. It just like after the song, you're like, I don't know if I can do the set anymore.
You're like showing your cards too early. You're showing your cards pre-river.
Especially you, like. I look back at Max sometimes and I feel fucking bad.
when the shirt comes off.
Yeah.
That's when you know where
it's more. It's honestly like, it's like sure everyone grew up playing sports. It's the same thing where you're playing and you just lock in and then you zone out, and it's like it's a challenge, and that's what's kind of cool about it. Where you're like, it's like you're only. I'm not gonna say that.
Straight up.
Once you think straight up, you think you're done, and then you keep going type stuff. And I like being in there. I think that's a fun place to be.
Yeah.
But I forgot what I was saying.
Like that flow state.
Yeah.
There's the sports thing and like
the sports
while
thing
you're
type
playing,
stuff.
Yeah, type beat. Yeah.
What?
No.
The sports stuff?
No.
Oh, I was just.
No.
Your team's down 1 point. You gotta lock in. You gotta
There
score the
you
goal.
go. There you go.
That's what I was getting at.
That's.
But I always think about it when I am tired like that, and I'm like, there's like 4 songs left, and they're all like, for some reason we put all the most insane songs at the end.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, all right, we're down 2.
Yeah.
Like
we're down 2. We gotta come back.
I think we all
I like
individually have different parts in the set where it's a break.
Yeah.
Because when you take breaks and you get to just play like a note, I don't get to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's never the same song where we get like probably Swallow.
The verse on Swallow, I think we all.
Swallow's a break.
Yeah.
That one maybe is the break for everybody.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like.
It's still not a quiet song. Yeah.
No, still like engaged.
You have moments.
Yeah. It's more like you get 2 bars of like, and then you have to go to the chorus.
Good. Yeah, literally. All right, Lily, we've been talking for 2.5 hours.
Jesus. No worries.
Right. Yeah.
Dude,
this was a fantastic conversation. I appreciate you guys. Last thing I'll ask you, if you had one like overarching message that you could translate through the EP, or I guess you could choose this EP or the next project. What's one thing you want listeners to get from it? One thing you hope they hear it and they take away from it, whether it be like one song or whether it be a overarching theme and an energy or a message.
I mean, I hope that, which I believe we'll succeed in doing, just because of the things that we've learned from making stuff before. But I just hope it. I want more than I hope. I want it to come across like we were talking about earlier, where it's like, okay, this is the band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think that's always been a point of contention, and something even for us that we've, recently figured out. I hope it, because I feel like if that happens, then I think we'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I think we'll be doing the right things and like be able to do this and like do cool shit and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's, I guess, our main goal. It seems like from the conversations we've had, it's like, okay, we've done these records, like let's make the one, but let's make the one that people really get it.
Yeah.
The EP is almost like an appetizer because it also is an EP.
Yeah.
And we want to make a record again, which we've only done once.
Yeah.
Which is also slightly scary, but which makes it kind of cool because it's uncharted territories. But like, yeah, I hope that that's what people see in it, and then I feel like it may infer the stuff before it as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I really agree with Max. I feel like I remember saying this to somebody a long time ago when like the first EP came out, and I said, when people hear this, I want them to hear like a band that has potential. And for this next stuff, what I want is for people to hear it and go like, yeah, I was right.
Wow. Yeah.
You know?
Wow. That's well
like,
said.
here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I think, well, something we've been talking about more recently in like the big picture conceptual stuff is like we just did some songs with Alice Longugal, and she played a show with us at the Roxy, and like one of the things that we get out of that we really like and we talk about is like at the forefront of our minds is like getting the respect of artists that are not in our genre but have an energy that we agree with. Their shows are exciting. They're not necessarily rock music or punk music or heavy. It's not necessarily like something that's like just guitar music. Like Alice is not really just guitar music at all. But for the future and like with this new release, kind of just like playing shows with new people constantly and not being just a band's band and not like not
a band's band,
like people outside of us who are coordinating things, understanding that it's a cool idea to have us open for like a rapper or like a hyper pop kind of thing. I think playing with a band like Bad Nerves, like they're really fun energy, like such a fun band to see and to watch play, and like that was something we shared, I think, in our live performance, was like people are energetic and things like that, and they're very energetic band, but they're also like very like power pop. They're very like catchy kind of music. It's not the same type of music, but it's cool to have just like the stamp and like the right of way from those types of bands, or like Alice, like I was saying, or anybody else like that.
Not being a band's band. I like that. That's well said.
Yeah.
Lily, thank you guys very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
dude.
that was a great conversation. That was a lot of fun.
That was fun.
I really appreciate it, guys.
That was like the best thing we've ever done, honestly.
Seriously.
Your setup's dope too.
Thank you guys.
You gotta keep doing this.
Thank you, bro.
We've done some fucking bad interviews.
We've also done good ones, and this one is like it makes them look neutral.
I think this is my favorite.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Thank you guys.
Well, it's just nice. Like
really good.
It's different than like interviews. Doing a podcast is just like a little bit more.
You can also like sit
hanging out.
and
Yeah.
relax.
You're also really good at it. And
Thank you,
the
bro.
whole vibe's awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Wait.
Shout out Mario.
Shout out Mario and the ones and twos.
Shout
Yeah,
out.
dude, well, Mario, you're the one that hit us up, so thank you.
Thanks, Mario.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
Real quick, tell them where they could follow you, what you got to promote, where they can stream everything.
Oh yeah.
Stream everywhere.
Stream everywhere.
All that shit.
Oh, L
I
L
I
Y.
7 eyes in there.
Sam Lily with 2 eyes. And then they're streaming everywhere, and there's videos on YouTubes, and
This will probably come out after, but November 1st at the Regent.
November 1st at the Regent.
We should start saying, we should be like, you know what?
There was
Liily. Fucking Google it.
There was a wrestling show that we played, and it was sick.
It was
fuck
yeah.
By the time you hear this,
sick.
we will have played it, and it was cool.
And there'll probably maybe even be another one.
No.
Maybe not.
Kickboxing next. MMA.
Yeah, we're gonna up the ante a little bit.
Liily, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Music matters.